the ALGS Championship, the most prestigious competitive event in the ALGS calendar. I'm Jumba, this is the ALGS Rundown, and let's break down the qualification methods our teams are striving for to book their tickets to Sapporo. All of the best Apex teams in the world will be fighting for their share of the $2 million prize pool and the chance to lift the championship trophy in Sapporo, Japan. But how do teams make it there? Throughout the ALGS calendar year, our teams have earned championship points based on their placements in Pro League, the ALGS Open, and the mid-season playoffs. The top 24 teams on the global championship point leaderboard will automatically qualify for the ALGS Championship in Japan at the end of the Split 2 Pro League. Lands earn you the most points. So top performing teams like Team Falcons, the winners of the ALGS Open, and BK Gaming, the winners of the ALGS mid-season playoffs, have earned thousands of points, putting them at the top of the championship point leaderboards. Other top performers like Alliance, Gen G, Ninjas and Pyjamas, who have been consistent throughout the year, both in Pro League and at LAN, have all but locked their spots in for Japan as well. Further down the leaderboard, teams like TSM, Virtus Pro, Noah's Fox will be fighting for their position on the championship point leaderboard. They will be looking to secure enough points to remain in the top 24 and lock in their ticket for Sapporo. Anyone that wins their region's Split 2 Pro League will book their ticket to Japan. With 4 regions, each having their own Pro League, there will be 1 slot per region up for grabs for placing first. So consistency is key if you want to secure your spot for champs. The next method is regional finals. The winners of each regional final, regardless of their final placement in Pro League standings, will also lock in a spot for Sapporo. The regional final will utilize the match point format, so you'll have to be locked in and aim for that big win if you want to secure your spot. Killer Instinct on match point proves that you belong on that main stage. With everything on the line, who will step up and secure their spot? Who will prove they deserve to play on the biggest stage of the year? In a scenario where the winner of either Pro League or the regional finals overlaps, or has already qualified for the championship via championship points, such as Team Falcons, then the next available team on the championship points leaderboard will join us in Sapporo. With our 4 Pro League winners and 4 regional final winners, we will have 32 of our 40 championship teams locked in at the end of Split 2. This means 8 spots now remain, as we enter into our last chance qualifiers, which will have 2 spots per region up for grabs. The LCQ for each region will feature all of the remaining Split 2 Pro League teams that have not yet qualified for the championship, as well as at least 10 of the top performing Challenger Circuit teams, totaling 40 teams. These 40 teams will compete in a double elimination bracket, culminating in a match point finals lobby where the top 2 placing teams will earn the final spots in Sapporo. Once again, you'll have to be playing at your best and be able to perform under that pressure if you want to make it to Japan and have your chance to lift that ALGS Championship trophy. With that, you now know all the ways our ALGS teams can earn their way to the ALGS Championship in year 5 and have their shot at securing their legacy. What teams do you hope to see to make it to the ALGS in Japan? Let us know down in the comments. You can catch all of the action taking place in Sapporo, Japan from January 15th to 18th on Play Apex at Twitch or Play Apex Esports on YouTube. Witness the 40 best teams in the world battle it out for their share of the $2 million prize pool and the title of the greatest team in the world. You can also visit algs.ea.com to keep up with the championship point leaderboards and the Split 2 Pro League standings. This has been the ALGS Rundown with me, Jumba. Thank you all for watching, and we look forward to seeing you all for the Split 2 Pro League.
They get absolutely destroyed.
Whistler connect. There's only one member left inside the middle zone. It is here. BK Gaming.
Nice.
And it's a 1v1. Sorcerer. Shield swap ended enough. Alliance.
And welcome back to the Apex Apex Legends Global Series. We're back for another weekend jam-packed full of Apex Legends action, and things are really starting to heat up in Split 2. Today is match day 4 for the Americas, which also means we're heading into the second round of our round robin. And after what we saw earlier in EMEA, I'm very excited to see what the Americas can do today. My name is Glitter Explosion, and I'll be your host for this weekend. And of course, we got to bring the boys back in as well, because we have Dia and Graceful rested and ready to dive into the next region. Dia, how excited are you?
I'm very excited. Like you talked, rested. I had some lemon yogurt. I grabbed some water. I am living my best life and about to enter the Americas region for the start of the second round robin. What could be better? Like, actually, what could be better?
Nothing that I could think of. Graceful, are you excited as well for Americas?
Very excited. I know people have been talking about PK, but seeing some of those pumps and 2 pumps in EMEA region earlier really got me fired up. So I'm hoping to see some more plays. Hopefully not as many charge rifle Peter plays in the bag, but I want to see some super mechanical plays, hopefully with the PK.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Americas has been a really fun region so far, with quite a few teams rocking the boat, if you will, as far as what we thought we knew or even expected the status quo to be when it comes to our overall standings. So first, let's take a look back at everything that happened for match day 3 to remind everybody at home how our teams fared and got to where they are, Dia.
Yeah, this, like you talk about, boat rockers theme is a really good way of representing the incredible amount of diversity that we've had in our match days. Starting things off, of course, Pioneers have been one of my favorite teams to watch, and also one of the most consistent teams in North America, placing second on both the match days that they've played so far. In fact, one of the make it 2 teams that have placed exactly the same way both times. On the other hand, Unreal Nightmare really came out and rocked the boat in match number 2. Unreal Nightmare, I think, have, like we talked about this morning on EMEA, an incredibly high ceiling that they have not yet achieved, but it is clear that they are pushing towards that, and I think we'll have solved some of their hardware issues to really get to the next level, hopefully today, when we ended up getting an Oblivion second place with 100 Thieves win. That was a really nice button to put on E-District, especially because 100 Thieves, you know they work hard. But this last map was another great highlight in match 4 of what you could do as not just Pioneers, but as DMG and Unreal Nightmare, who all had these incredible power positions. Now, Pioneers ended up working really well, getting a couple of respawns for the win, but this 4th map was really the highlight for me in multiple narratives.
Absolutely. And you might think that game number 5, match number 5 has to be the end of the conversation when it comes to Unreal Nightmare. And as far as winning the match, sure, that match number 5 did go the way of Legacy Kingdom. However, the consistency that we see, 2nd place out of Oblivion, but 4th place, again, out of Unreal Nightmare all day. Unreal Nightmare did not finish outside top 7, which is why after we get through match number 6, which does go the way this time of Ninjas and Pyjamas, and you can see why with their positioning here on this side of the wall, at the end of the day, Unreal Nightmare's consistency, which was something we talk about all the time, takes home match day 3 for them. And when we're talking about boat rockers, like I said, I think, we came into this split having certain expectations of certain teams, and then we get a day like match day 3 that shows us just how little we really know. As you get to see the top 5 here out of those squads, Unreal Nightmare top with Pioneers behind with 2 wins and still not a massive, but a decent point spread between 1st and 2nd, even with those 2 wins under their belts, mostly down to that 18 KP Unreal Nightmare win in match number 2. I mean, it was a great way to kind of kick off the region and have a lot of those teams that we mentioned the same concept in EMEA, a lot of those teams that maybe weren't initially in that discussion really force themselves into the discussion, get points when those opportunities have presented themselves. And now we end up with a very interesting Americas region heading into match day number 4. But of course, everything that these teams are playing for, the whole thing they're fighting for, we talked about it when we kicked off the split, is the ability to play in Japan at Champs. So we're going to take a quick look at where we're at right now with our Champs kind of status overall. Now, if we ended right now, today, these would be your top 40 teams performing on that international stage. Obviously, that's not where we are. We're not stopping things right now, but it's a good time to check in, Graceful, where we're at with these standings.
Yeah, most definitely. As you said, it hasn't ended so far. All of these teams are still fighting their way to stamp that ticket straight to Japan like we saw last year. And now we have a couple of teams that have an easier time of making it there. We all know and recognize them. We see the likes of Falcons, the likes of Alliance, 100 Thieves. We see a bunch of teams that are super strong and consistent across the board. And these are the teams that we're expecting to keep the same pace to make it. Essentially have made their way pretty much there already. On the flip side of things, though, some teams might have a tougher time there, making it through that, I would say, crocodile-infested waters, rough waters indeed, to make it through, because you're fighting absolutely everybody and anybody to make it there. You have to claw your way there, because these points, you're almost at the point where you have to either win regional finals for you, or you have to get top 2 in LCQ, and that's definitely not the easiest way to make it through all the way to Japan.
Absolutely, and we talk about just how much these teams in this split are going to be fighting for the quickest and simplest path to Champs, not by any means easy in either scenario, but performances like what we saw out of Unreal Nightmare on match day 3 are the types of performances these teams are hoping, especially when it comes to something like regional finals. So we got to highlight them a little bit during those match day 3 moments, but Dia, I know that you would like to deep dive them a little bit more, because Unreal Nightmare has absolutely embodied that idea of rocking the boat, especially now having found themselves in top 3 overall after match day 3.
Yeah, it's been a perfect story for them. And like you're talking about, with so few teams in a automatic qualification position, a lot of squads are fighting for who's going to come out on top of regional finals, on top of the LCQ. And nobody exemplifies that more than a team that is able to accelerate on the level that Unreal Nightmare were able to on match day 3. This is a bit of a snapshot from their play out of Canal Plaza to find the win in match number 2. And it was a fantastic game for them. This was granted on E-District, a map that will not be played today, but it is nonetheless worth taking a look back at how they finished this end game, because a lot of it didn't come out of crazy macro play or playing for God spot. It came out of end game shot calling that seems to be something that Unreal Nightmare can actually do quite well. Not because, again, they're playing from these incredibly powerful positions, but because they're a team with an uncanny amount of trust in each other and actually rather good communication around these things. When it came down to it, Unreal Nightmare made a fantastic play for height and never gave up the pressure on other teams, moving in, clearing out the bridge, clearing out the high ground, and then systematically taking out 100 Thieves and Ape Gang with a fantastic rampart setup that left them basically untouchable on the high ground with an easy assault down onto the low ground. You can be really impressed with what Unreal Nightmare gave us, and I'd love to take a look at what it sounded like, because I think you'll hear the passion in their comms.
I'm full setting. I'm full setting. I'm full setting. I'm the first one. One is covered. 130. Come on, get it. I'm picking up. Crack. 130. I'm not double top. I'm not double top. Okay. All right. There's one team on height. One team on height. I don't know. I don't know. Come on, height. I can do. Top 3, underneath. Okay. One north. What's not? What am I? It's a double knock in the fresh red. Okay. Double knock in the fresh red. Bottom up. Good. Top 2. Last team's the fresh red. 31 dead. 10 minutes. I'm getting it. Okay, I'll me. Oh, God.
I mean, Huntsman putting on both a performance as a player, but also you can hear the passion, like you were talking about, Dia, coming through those comms on behalf of him as well. So definitely a really good team to be deep diving. And I think definitely a squad everyone will be keeping their eyes on here as we start preparing for our matches on the day. But obviously they're not the only team in today's lobby. So let's take a look at which squads we're going to be keeping our eyes on in general overall, because we have groups A and B facing off here today for match day number 4, and lots of recognizable faces in here, to say the least. I mean, we've got TSM, talked about Unreal Nightmare. We have Rock, phenomenal performance out of Pioneers last time. We have Sentinels. There are so many teams that people are going to be pulling for, and I think one of the teams people are going to be pulling for is obviously Falcons, constantly a fan favorite, super team, best in the world. Well, I don't know if you guys saw social media this week. I'm sure a lot of you had, but either way, let's walk you through a little bit of a timeline here, okay? Because this is the first tweet that we see this week, a little bit cryptic. We've got some breaking chains picture coming out of Zero, and everyone's like, what's happening here? Then we get the next tweet that comes out on social media, the official Falcons Esports tweet. Zero has been benched, and when I tell you this sent Twitter into an absolute tizzy, it did, because as soon as this news broke, everyone had something to say about this. We have multiple tweets from the community. Aurora with a little roster announcement saying that together with Zero, we've come to an agreement that he just won't be joining Aurora for the good of both parties, obviously. Thank you, Aurora, for clearing that up. I know people were absolutely worrying. And then continuing on, we've got more people coming through. We've got Bronzy putting out a tweet that says what a Bronzy 1v2 does to a team. Honestly, Bronzy, yeah, you're right. This could have been your doing, okay? And then the final tweet that we have to show here is from Don, saying that Imperial Hal just created the biggest roster mania, and Don is not wrong. He absolutely did. And after all of the social media, all the speculation that's been happening on the internet, where here is your answer. We'd like to introduce to you your team Falcons for today. It's exactly the same.
That's the same
exactly the same roster. Unfortunately, that is because all of those tweets did in fact come out after this week's roster lock. So we have this Falcons for at least one more weekend. However, I think the chaos that it created and the speculation is still going to exist until we get our answers, guys. I mean, Dia, what's going to happen next week?
Let me tell you this. I know it's not the time in the show to talk about it. This is the week to open Face It Watch, guys. Like, if you you want to be listening to these comms, Falcons today is going to be historic, not just because it's their last day playing together, but because I bet those comms are going to get pretty spicy.
I mean, yeah, pretty much that's the best way to put it. And honestly, Graceful, give me your quick thoughts on this.
I mean, I think it's also one of those things that's people, since they stream all of their footage as well, it's very easy for people to go along the ride and sensing what, was that small little jab at him? Did he actually mean that? Is he actually comfortable with his teammates or not? And sometimes it's just the way it is, Maybe things just didn't work out the way they saw the gameplay, and now one of them feels like Hal is happy he's back at iGelling. Maybe that's where he's the most comfortable at. And, sometimes the team's mix-up is a good thing. So I hope we get to see one last day. Hopefully it's a good one, because if not, we gotta watch Face It Watch for sure, see what's happening.
Definitely, yeah. It's definitely gonna make LAN very excited. I can't wait to see what all of those answers are when we get them. However, you guys both mentioned, if you want to keep up with everything that's going on, the easiest way to do that is literally Face It Watch. That way you can hear every single POV exactly the way that you want to. Up to 4 different POVs. You also have the option to, of course, watch that map feed so you can see your favorite team's rotations. You can hear their decision making. You can watch the ALGS your way. You can also do it on mobile. You can claim your drops when they are available. It is the best tried and true method to keep up to date with everything we have going on every single day in the ALGS. All you have to do is head on over to faceit.com/watch to do exactly that. We're coming back as well with one more shout out, of course, to our social media. Make sure you're checking that out. If you're ever not able to make an ALGSC, or you just want to keep up to date with everything we've got going on throughout the year, follow us on X, YouTube, TikTok, Insta, and Twitch. That way you guys won't miss a single second of anything we've got going on, whether it is the rest of this split or what we've got coming up along the way to champs. And after that, I think it's the perfect time to get straight into match number 1. So Dia, Graceful, let's kick off the Americas.
Let's do it. I am very, very excited for these matches, Graceful, because of all the drama that we just mentioned, and not just the Falcons drama, but the dramatic turn that a lot of these teams have been taking. We mentioned variation during our EMEA show, and today we are going to be playing just the same maps, World's Edge into Stormpoint. But it's worth noting that EMEA and North America had a pretty distinct difference in the first round robin. Your average EMEA team varied between match days by only about 4 positions. North American teams had wide variance. Their average team changed placements between match days about 7.5 placements, which is crazy. You could go from bottom 10 to top 10 in a single match day, and that is really what we're going to be focusing on here. Who's able to dial things in and who continues to rock the boat? Starting on World's Edge, what's standing out to you here in terms of drop spots initially?
I mean, to touch a little bit on that previous point as well, is that yes, indeed, the placement might vary quite a lot, but you also have to take into the consideration which zones, you know, got played, and was it repeatable zones such as we saw today, you know, pretty much double in the middle of the zone. And if you have 2 back-to-back and then you're misplaying that, or if that's a rough zone for you, could look very differently from, you know, other days. However, I would say that nothing really sticks out, because teams, when you have this many caustic and altars in the first one, you don't really get to lock down as many points as you want to, because you can always get breached essentially with the likes of caustic and altar. So I feel like where people drop nowadays doesn't matter nearly as much. It does on this map because of chokes and etc, but because it's so breachable and you can just take whatever you want to essentially with the likes of the utility of the caustic and altar, it doesn't do way too much as other maps.
And you bring up an important point here, Graceful, as to how this impacts our other games as well, since Caustic and Altar are both available. Well, funnily enough, Caustic and Altar were picked the same amount of times this match, which means that one of them is getting banned, but we don't know which just yet. We won't get to find that out until we see what teams place near the top, and then start to whittle down, okay, well, who is running Caustic, who is running Altar? Giving a quick overview right now, I'm not seeing a lot of teams that are running one or the other. They seem to all be in the same place at the same time, which will make things really difficult. I'm really only seeing Unreal Nightmare, so it may be that what legend gets banned is entirely based on where Unreal Nightmare plays. Somebody's running an Altar and no Caustic. Somebody's doing it. Unreal Nightmare and somebody else, but my eyes aren't finding it right now.
It's gonna be fun indeed, but fun nonetheless is the thermal zone. If it ends up going that way, or if it pulls out of it, it's completely fine, because I like both zones regardless if it pulls more towards the east. But if it's more towards thermal station, I think everybody likes a good thermal station. I feel like it's a fun zone to play. However, for the teams that are super far out, is going to have to fight their way up from height, which could be a little bit more rough, because what we have seen is a lot of collapsing when circle zone, you know, circle 3 closing. That's where it really gets iffy.
Starting things off with Unreal Nightmare, the very team that we highlighted. Taking a look at our kill feed, it seems like we are getting the action kicked off real early with Falcons finding an early fight. Just to touch on this real quick, because we did mention the legend bans. If Unreal Nightmare plays higher than Hot Dog Mafia, Caustic will be banned. If Hot Dog Mafia plays higher than Unreal Nightmare, Altar will be banned. We'll track it for you, but I just wanted to let everybody who's curious know what's going on. It's worth noting Unreal Nightmare's position may actually be one that ages pretty darn well as they start to move their way further into Thermal, where the zone appears to be pulling. Instant Gibby bubble down, and Unreal Nightmare are looking for a fight.
Immediately coming out of that ash AP, trying to take space, and they do get the tunnel indeed. A super solid spot, because this is one of the adaptable spots, so wherever it goes, you're able to do something. But that's not the biggest point of being in a tunnel, is that whichever side ends up engaging, so right there, if Guild gets engaged on that little small building, they can just come out the tunnel and immediately 3P. KP potential on both sides. It's a super solid spot to play.
Well, Falcons are still in Harvester. This is where they're landing for today. It's going to be a slower game for them, but one that ultimately still has them pretty darn close to zone. A lot of teams are going to be running by Harvester on the way, and I think that's a big reason why Falcons haven't moved yet. It's not that this is a god spot position. It's just really hard to move when everybody's also doing the same thing. Team Falcons do set a trap, however. Zero does almost get chunked out, or rather traded, as He's only on white shields right now, and the charge rifle can change your fate very quickly. Falcons try pushing into a caustic. It's not going to work out too well. The nice thing is they've always got height to retreat to, and Falcons are thinking about doing just that. Is up against 14k resonance on purples. I wouldn't be pushing my luck.
Not only the fact that they have been pushing their luck for a little bit, other teams are slowly, you know, lurking in towards the zone as well. I believe Nice Guys is to the east of them. If this fight gets too extended, we might be looking at a 3P for the moment. But Zero, however, still trying to make some angles, still trying to step it up. Going through the wall, actually, into Gash right now. But can he make a play?
Zero's almost got it. These Peacekeeper shots are just not landing. And the breach, fortunately, a two-way street. Takes Falcons out and away from danger, right back up to height, and again, a much safer place to be. They've got the Nox gas grenade should they need it. But for the moment, 14k residents are going to pop a quick revive and continue playing on this low ground in Harvester. The rest of the map sorting itself out as largely people betting that this is not a Harvester zone. But we just got these two teams caught up there, and maybe a few more showing up in the near future. Hot Dog Mafia, one of the squads that we want to keep our eyes on. One of the few to be running Sparrow and actually having Rambo on the Sparrow. Electing to have their IGL instead on Alter.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a play that a lot of people tend to do, is that you have your IGL on the rotational character, whether that be the Wraith, whether that be the Alter, whether that be, you know, it could even be Pathfinder. All of these characters that make the macro movement, is a lot easier to make that split-second decision making where you see an opportunity instead of needing to call your teammate, as an example. Hey, could you, like, if you're playing Wraith and I'm the IGL and I need to ask you, hey, could you go scout? And if that is free, can you go TP for it and see if it's free? Takes a lot longer than me doing it myself as the IGL, so that's normally why you end up opting for that way. However, here, Chaos Feelings, a little bit gutsy with the shots against the Peter. Not something a lot of people have been enjoying so far.
Yeah, that was very 30-30 gameplay. Fortunately, it's all safe now. Everybody's back up, everybody's healing, and it's early enough in the game that this doesn't turn into Rock full sending DMG. They're so far away that right now the amount of teams that are piled into places like Thermal Station and the amount of open space that you need to cross really does make it nearly impossible to full send somebody, even when you're able to do this amount of damage. You're setting yourself up for late game instead by farming and by getting ready for future ring pulls and playing in likely locations that let you hit ring console. LeaveNoWitness is the perfect example of that, as inside of Lava Siphon, they're going to be able to get ring 3 information and will be one of very few teams to know that we are going Harvester in this next ring pull. We're pulling out of Thermal and up to the north, where 14k and Falcons actually ended up staying. ZZ has shown up, and we got a party happening up north.
Everybody is super happy on the Harvester side, as it does pull towards Harvester. This means that all the teams, and you can also see it from the likes of Durags, Pioneers, Hot Dog Mafia rotated out. All of these teams aren't playing like full on hard committed straight into Thermal on the first zone read, because the game has changed from back in the days. Back in the days, you could read the zone immediately from zone 2 knowledge, essentially, because those were the way that the ring zone, the way it acted back then. But they have changed things up. You can no longer do that reliably all the time. So now people tend to play a little bit more adaptable, a little bit more available to rotate if needed. And it paid off. All of these teams that haven't full committed can now slowly make their way towards Harvester that do have the knowledge.
Quick run in by the ninjas in pajamas, setting themselves up for another fight. You see knocked on the high ground, go for an abduct, and come up just a bit empty-handed. This is one of the fights that actually could result in our first squads eliminated. DKK versus the ninjas in pajamas is actually a very isolated fight, and I think the ninjas in pajamas know that. That's why we see them back off, play things a little safe, because until you get at least a crack in a caustic meta, you're not full sending anything.
Yeah, even then though, Dropped and Keon and Nox played that very well from holding that high ground on the left side right there by that small cliff. That's exactly how you need to hold out this fight, because if you all bunker up in that house, you're gonna get engaged on immediately. However, on the other side of things, NIP force utility, they force caustic ult, they force utility, and now they're the ones getting bombarded by gas. They got Stinked right now. They're trying to make it up those stairs with the PKs in hand as it comes down to a choke fight.
And DKK are at a weird disadvantage because they also have Ape Gang paying attention to them from the low ground. Something that Ninjas in Pyjamas want to be aware of. If you do end up full sending DKK, you've got to make sure not to drop a single person because you could find yourself in a lot more trouble than DKK were just in. Fresh Newcastle wall makes this a little bit safer, and it should be safe enough that everybody gets to survive. With DMG zone wrapping though, the Ninjas in Pyjamas are suddenly the team in danger.
This pinch could be huge for DMG as they actually walk up on NIP, but one of the NIP members spots them. They get a crack, but not a down yet. So NIP should be disengaging right here real quick, as they are indeed disengaging to make sure that they're not pinched any longer. They do, however, disengage far into the zone, I believe, a little bit further down to now where DMG might be the team getting pinched if they should re-engage.
I really like that DMG went for this. They've got an altar portal set up where we saw them earlier just north of Thermal. So they just send 2 people out and go, you know what? You can come back. You can void Nexus if it's really a problem. Go fish for kills. And they do just that. Now, while it doesn't work out right now, it does force Ninjas in Pyjamas, like you mentioned, into zone where unfortunately, it's a lot harder for Ninjas in Pyjamas to get out of now. DKK can play Gatekeeper, as can Ape Gang, and we are in a very tense lobby right now. Every team holding their breath to see who will be the first squad eliminated. And Ninjas in Pyjamas, certainly the team at the biggest disadvantage right now. Quick abduction comes through, but knocked. Does get back real quickly, does need to find a portal, and he will. DKK reset on the high ground, where they've still got all of their defensive setup. Ninjas in Pyjamas in the train carts right below them. Just again, a very tense western side of the lobby, especially as all these teams are going to have to move towards Harvester. Ape Gang, Ninjas in Pyjamas, and DKK will have to continue to fight, but check out ZZ's rotate as they end up void nexusing onto the high ground, onto what is very frequently a game-winning position on this hill outside of Harvester. I don't know how you're feeling about it, Graceful. This doesn't look like the end game god spot for ZZ.
We have seen previous zones active in that direction where that spot, old god spot, so to say, very active to where it does end up being the best spot in the game. However, their previous building looking very good going into the next zone. And not only that, but it also adds a lot of KP potential from the likes of DMG, NIP, and DKK from the west side of the map. So I'm interested to see how that plays out for them. However, down here at staging right now, they made it down, NIP down into that bottom cubby essentially. Now are gonna be forced to walk through the tunnel and have a hard rotate as long as somebody else occupies the house. But they didn't. NIP managed to get that building that CC left.
That's so crazy that NIP were from the team that was in the most trouble to now the only team, or one of the only teams, one of 2 teams in the next zone to actually have a building. Pioneers will be trying to contest for a little bit of Harvester space, but with the amount of teams, not just Pioneers, but Durags, CIMJ, Liquid Alienware, Zone Spammers, they're all competing for basically no space, and Pioneers finding that out very quickly, toss a Nox gas grenade, and desperately try to reset on this low ground. Jay is gonna go down, 1 Peacekeeper pump in the back will do that, and Cruel Buckle, now the last alive and out of zone to boot, has a much more difficult time. We are still at 20 teams, we still have not lost a squad. TSM could be our first team to go down, but Dupe is going to try and hit a reset, see how long we can delay this.
That was a good reset indeed, as KCP got 2 pumped in the lava underneath from mid-range. That's just how it goes. TSM, however, lost a member, gets the reset right there. But as a duo, will walk in with at least 2 teams above them, essentially. Nice Guys and Falcons right next to him. LeaveNoWitness nearby as well. It's going to be a tough road, and as Liquid Alienware is walking up.
The fact Pioneers being eliminated right now. First team to go down after we had our second zone close. And while we're checking in with what's going on here at Harvester, Falcons have not moved an inch. They have been handcuffed to Harvester since the very beginning. And looking at the next zone pull, we talked about ZZ's rotate out and Ninjas in Pyjamas rotate in. Did Ninjas in Pyjamas just accidentally roll themselves a god spot?
Yeah, they didn't accidentally. They took it because CC left the god spot, and now they're gonna get punished by the next zone closing. However, one thing I saw in the minimap, but we did not catch right now, is that Liquid Alienware managed to run all the way into the next zone, solo dolo, climb up on height, and put down a portal for his whole team to get there. Humongous macro play by Liquid Alienware right there.
Sentinels staring down the THUGGETS right now, and Sentinels have high ground, but THUGGETS have zone priority. And unfortunately for Sentinels, you've got DMG at your back as well. This is looking to be a 3-squad kerfuffle. DJ Killa from the high ground, throwing out a little bit of gas. We get a Nox gas grenade answering back. Some Skynades falling through, but DMG with the high ground in charge of this fight. It's a matter of outlasting Sentinels as both squads are down to just one member left. No more Nox gas, but a thermite could change this. Ooh. Riley burning alive on the low ground, and DMG are going to go for a reset, a chance at the next ring. Nice guys get taken down. So do the Sentinels, burning on the low ground. But as DMG, you've still got to go through the THUGGETS.
Nice wipe right there. Yes, they do indeed have to move from that choke walking down, but it seems like a lot of these teams are occupied. Rock Esports is probably the team that's going to be holding them up, but Fighter Curse all the way inside the east as well. Falcons is currently fighting, I believe, TSM as they get trades.
Durags and Rock go down. Falcons may just be the next, having survived all the way to 15th. Waltzy is going to eat this Arcstar, surely. Zero is still alive, and Waltzy is hitting the constant resets. Finally goes down, and Falcons have one member left standing in Zero. This could not be more perfect. Zero, the one guy left holding the banner for Falcons with 1 HP. Playing behind these rocks is Unreal Nightmare and Hot Dog Mafia both go out. We have dropped half of our teams in 2 minutes. Unreal Nightmare go down. The Falcons still resetting and outlasting behind this rock as LeaveNoWitnesses start moving up on them. Somehow the Falcons are alive, and then Ninjas in Pyjamas. You know they're chilling up here. They got no worries.
Dude, Walton tip-tapped and managed to get 2 reses off before going down, and now to get to reset? That's absolutely crazy. Yes, NFP is chilling at Godspot right now, but Falcons still at it. Haven't left off the pressure. They're still getting surrounded by 2 teams.
Take it. Portal up to high ground. Literally, how is Zero alive? How is nobody looking at this? The rest of Falcons, unfortunately, do get taken down. LeaveNoWitness is collecting those kills. Liquid Alienware and 14K Resonance do still have to exit into the ravine. The Ninjas in Pyjamas
They're still
again.
in the next zone closing.
This is a miracle game for NIP. The squad that was in the most danger at the start is lit. They're chilling. They're the only team with a building. Ape Gang go down.
Like, Dia, I have to say this right now. They went from getting pinched, TPing out into the zone, down into staging, through the tunnel, up to Godspot that was somehow free because CC left this, or straight up chilling, but CC has not let it up easily either. They went for the Godspot. Now they're gonna have to fight for it though. If they get naded or gassed there, it's gonna be really tough for them.
We say goodbye to the Falcons and the THUGGETS as Ninjas in Pyjamas finally get a few teams pressuring them. Everybody's been so afraid to push up to this building. But in a caustic meta, you can get very wiped out of a building very, very quickly. DKK on the low ground, not in a bad spot either. And it's funny to see these 2 teams that were at each other's throats earlier also right next door to each other in the end game. ZZ, who rotated out, still actually have managed to turn this into a good position. 4 kills for the squad so far, still on high ground and under essentially no pressure from NIP, who are sitting inside the building, not peeking their heads out. ZZ have a lot of freedom when it comes to how they choose to abuse squads that don't have the same amount of cover.
If they manage to wipe LeaveNoWitnesses straight underneath them, they actually get to play the entire northern side of the zone, playing from underneath, getting them a huge chance at winning and closing out this game, because every other team is currently on the south side fighting.
Sex has very few shots on this charge rifle left. Not normally something we'd get to talk about, but it actually might become relevant here because ZZ will struggle to finish off these kills momentarily. It is really going to be Sykes that is assigned to close range duty. But they continue picking up these kills. That is another for ZZ, and they start closing the gap, playing not for the north side, but for the high ground. And ultimately a challenge onto the Ninjas in Pyjamas. Liquid Alienware will go down in 6th. The good placement for them overall, but not a whole lot of kills to go with it. CIMJ slamming right in front of ZZ, who play the rock for a little bit of cover. A tough spot to play. ZZ, using the little cover that they have, are trying to take control of this game after giving up the building. Can they play for retake and ultimately win the game? CIMJ stand right in between them and NIP as NIP take a fight against DKK and get wiped out.
They do get wiped out by DKK. Indeed, now managed to play the roof on one side where CIMJ has to fight the likes of CC, but we can't forget LeaveNoWitness is currently owning 50% of the zone, playing low ground actually. If anybody drops into them, it's gonna be a death threat for them straight away, as everybody else up top now is forced to fight. Even with this ult and Q coming out, they're still gonna get gassed.
Sykes manages to at least kick LNW off of the high ground, but you're just trying to survive in caustic gas, and albeit for now it seems to be working, as CIMJ and DKK are forced to take each other on. CIMJ surely going to go down soon, as Chickus, the last one standing, sends it straight into DKK and ultimately will fall. LeaveNoWitnesses on the low ground should be winning this game. There are 2 squads on the high ground. Surely DKK and ZZ fight each other, but ZZ starts crashing forward, both wanting to kick each other off the high ground and neither willing to give it up. LNW wait below for their chance to win this game. And ZZ and DKK stubbornly refuse to give up the high ground and the chance at a win. Up come LNW trying to get in on the action. Guild still fights for the high ground but will fall. ZZ go down. And from the low ground, LeaveNoWitnesses let hubris claim their enemies and take game 1.
LeaveNoWitnesses actually played that so well because they fought for what I said before was the northern side. Whichever team managed to be the last team on that side and clear out, whether that be they cleared out CC from the top or CC cleared them out from the bottom, would have owned the entirety of the zone, which they ended up doing, forcing everybody who moved to the southern side of the zone to fight each other at the end. Fair trade at the top, and they just came in for the clean closing out of the game, and that's exactly how you need to play it. Sometimes you play fast and they try to make some stuff happen. Sometimes you play it slow with patience and you close out the game.
And you can really tell that DKK and ZZ, they're not happy with these results because both of them were playing for the win and nothing else. Sticking on high ground for that long, you know what you're doing. You are giving up to LeaveNoWitnesses, but you are daring the other team to take that gamble with you. LeaveNoWitnesses very proud of their win here, playing the Ravine, like you said, to perfection. But I'm really interested to see how this DKK-ZZ interaction continues to play out throughout the day, because they are playing like teams possessed. Not for second place, but for first.
Most definitely. But one thing I definitely want to point out here that we actually saw, I like the kills, I like the assists, I like the damage dealt, but Walsey with the 7 reses, tiptoeing that we saw on stream, managed to 180 with that sensitivity, and he still got the double res, and that allowed them to survive for so long to potentially get a couple more extra points in there, which is really important because at the end of the day, racking up all the points you can by any means is exactly how you get those. You get up on the leaderboard.
ZZ, LeaveNoWitnesses, and DKK all making it up to top 3. It was a slog to get here, I'm gonna be honest. CIMJ almost made it in, and Ninjas in Pyjamas, again, shockingly not making top 3 despite one of the weirdest games that I've ever seen from a macro perspective. Rolled a god spot, and I think, unfortunately, just didn't have the resources to fight DKK in the end. But this is going to be an interesting game to look back on, because there were so many twists and turns to this game pulling out to Harvester, and that was just our first one of the day. We've still got 5 more games, but before we jump into our second, we are going to take a quick break.
single person I've ever seen and Wolves take game number 2.
Duo BCG though, they're starting to heat things up. Obviously, we do know they didn't go down fully with that early push, and they are staying alive. Top 4 scenario, make it top 3. BCG can force a second.
They call it. I mean, they look good right now. TYK down to a solo. BCG might get the W as a duo, and BCG.
Squads remaining, it's all full teams. Wolf Esports, Team Mango still alive as well, and they are going for a little bit of a point play here. Wolves take the high ground, and they look to end it themselves, but they end up falling out. They're slipped out of the ring. Donut somehow stays alive, but he's not going to be able to close it out.
Our grenades are starting to come out. Five Fears are getting absolutely destroyed. So they're going to move up on these entry damage here. And it is Wolves beat 5 Fears. This is going to be an MDY black win, you think, for game number 6.
I mean, surely they claim this.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Apex Legends Global Series. It is time for us to start preparing for match number 2 of the day for Americas, as it was LeaveNoWitness who closed out match number 1 with a win, with a pretty strong start to the day, Graceful.
Yeah, I mean, I think they played that really well, and I would even want to go back and see the final circle as well, because like I always like to say it is, sometimes you have to play fast, sometimes you have to play slow. I think they held their ground down below very, very well, as we saw the likes of CC and DKK fight on top. They just made sure to hold their space and close out the game. Sometimes you can get greedy for this KP, and that could even lead to somebody getting immediately knocked. When you're playing in this fast-paced meta with the PKs and the Peters and the charge rifles, one small mistake can cost you absolutely everything. They opted to go for the secure of closing out the game instead, which I am all for. Get the KP when you can, but sometimes you gotta make sure you close out the game, because at the end of the day, you're playing 6 matches. Just putting points on that leaderboard is more important than getting that one specific pop-up moment.
Honestly, I feel like from LeaveNoWitness's perspective, they were just praying that no one was going to drop on them, just waiting for the other shoe to preferably drop, and it never did. They were able to really kind of be patient down there, and it worked out in their favor in the end. It was definitely a tough spot for both DKK and Z as we take a look at some stats for LeaveNoWitness here. I mean, that was a pretty even start, though, across the board for a lot of our top teams into match number 1, as we get to see how exactly that first game went. It was pretty conservative, but well played, Graceful.
Yeah, most definitely. I actually thought that they might have gotten more kills since they played down by the crevice, but sometimes the opportunity just never arises, and making sure that you hold your spot is more important. And honestly, I always say it, if you can keep consistently getting into endgame, at one point one of these games will pay off. So even if they only got 5 kills this game, if they're still in top 3 next game, like, you know, they could have even more kills, but maybe not that same placement. But putting up those points, all it's about 17 points, more than happy with that, I'm sure.
And we know that even though we're not, you know, they're not up here on the stats right now, also the 9 KP going the way of DKK and ZZ will also set themselves up well. THUGGETS, we also saw, well, after that match, Kimchi was the Apex Predator with 6 kills out of those 9 for himself as well. So it's been an interesting start. A lot of the teams that we had mentioned at the top of the day that had a really strong showing last time, Pioneers notably was the first team out this time around. So we're seeing a little bit of a change up for some of those teams that had dominated. And I think we're also still waiting for some of the bigger teams to really still step up to the plate. Now, we're waiting for our players to get loaded into the lobby. So Graceful, I'm excited to bring this up because I know you have a lot to say, but we mentioned it in EMEA. We have a patch coming up right around the corner. So we're going to pull up some patch notes so we can start to show people what you can expect if you haven't read them here already. And I know Graceful has a lot of things that he's excited for in these patch notes.
So I'm very excited about the patch notes coming up into next week, and never mind the fact that, you know, we will probably see some teams pulling out Seer again, potentially Maggie, not nearly as much, I would say. Ash getting reeled back a little bit because she's still very strong. However, locked hop up is one of the most frustrating part, because Peter Piercer is the reason why people are dying so absolutely fast. They're now making that a little bit harder to achieve, making that more into a late game scaling weapon, unless you brawl all the time, which we know in competitive lobbies, we saw 20 teams circle 3, essentially even in EMEA. It's gonna be harder for them to attain that, which is good, which might reel it back a little bit. One thing I would like to say though, that doesn't show on this sheet, because there's so many patch notes that even quality of life stuff, like making the game run better and smoother, which I'm all for, is that the PK choke that we have been talking about all the time, that we see every team run, is getting reeled back a little bit as well. Is it enough? You probably can't snipe like 90s and 80 plus all the time now, but we'll have to see, because he should still remain a very strong competitor in the close range quarters. But if you ask me, Glitter, I think that shotguns should be strong in close range and then just not nearly as strong in mid to long range.
I mean, it's you know, what we used to see back in the day with all the bubble fights when it was Gibby meta, where it's definitely getting balanced into a much better place. But I think that I do agree with you, Graceful, where up close, a shotty should be hitting you for a lot. If you take the full PK star right to the chest, that's gonna do a lot of damage. But I am excited to see if this brings Seer back into the meta. I know Dia had talked about that when we were in EMEA talking about these patch notes as well, that he's hoping to get a little bit more Seer love after these changes go through. And honestly, I think the thing that I love just about the current competitive meta is that every time we do get some tweaks to come through in a patch, because of a combination of the different maps, the legend bans, and just how fluid this whole year has been when it comes to metas, we very likely could see new legends being added into the rotation and teams starting to try new things, similar to what we saw last week with, as teams had swapped on over to Stormpoint, you started seeing that trifecta of Gibby, Newcastle, Rampart, where only 2 teams are running it. Then we start today in EMEA, and all of a sudden we see more people using it in a totally different region. Graceful, is that not the nature of ALGS?
I mean, yeah, it is. And the legend ban system has been wonderful in that aspect, because you can, you can pick and piece legends apart a little bit, buffing them, nerfing them. But with the ban system, you can only get, like Caustic, you only get 1 game. It doesn't matter if it's too strong, because you only get that 1 game, and then they, it evens it out a little bit. But I mean, I would also like to say though, with the weapons changing as well, PK, the accelerator actually gets removed from the PK as well. So you remember that clip we saw the last time we casted together, where you get the wall, you pump, you get the wall again? Can't happen unless you get the amp potentially, but it's not the same stuff for free now with the PK. So it's very interesting to see not only legends, but also weapons get changed. We have been talking about that before. It took way too long before, and now it's happening a little bit rapidly, and I'm all for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we'll take a look at our match schedule for today so you guys at home can know what to expect while we're getting match number 2 locked and loaded. Obviously, if you're just joining us, we just completed match number 1 here in Americas with LeaveNoWitness taking home the first win of the day with 5 kills going their way. Like you mentioned here, Graceful, the first ban of the day was also Caustic with that 100% pick rate coming through. We won't get to see more than 1 match with him, and that will, of course, start to vary the legend picks up a little bit.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. In the EMEA, we saw a lot of people opt for Watson instead of Caustic once he was out of the game. We saw Alter go out next, and will that be the same thing in this region? We'll have to see. Nonetheless, though, I think that it's fun because a lot of people have been complaining about the gas specifically, but at some point we come a full circle where Caustic is super deadly, he gets nerfed, nobody plays him, and now he's back. And I feel like at some point you just have to make that full moon rotation, because we can't just have all the characters not good. We need something to bring them back, and I think so far it's been a good way of doing it.
We've also seen, or at least we saw today in EMEA, just how impactful Watson is once she was brought in after that Caustic ban did go through. And I'm hoping that we get a little bit more variety now out of Americas, because it was a very similar lobby. We got a little bit more variety in EMEA, but this time around it was very heavily weighted towards, like you had mentioned, outside of Caustic, Alter, and Newcastle. So let's see if they're ready to shake it up a bit.
It does seem like people are opting for Watson as in the other region, and I feel like a lot of the times is when you have these super strong teams across the regions, is that you tend to follow. Like you said about the Newcastle, Gibby, and also Ramp, when something works, it just works and people try their best, because at the end of the day, people can always say, like, how should I say it? I feel like a lot of people tend to say that, oh, you're just copying them, right? You're just copying X team because they're doing good. But I feel like a lot of the time, like, isn't that really how we learn almost anything? Is that you take what's good from the best teams in the world and you apply it to your own kit and you try to make it special in some way. And I think that's the beauty of people being creative as well.
And we see that happen season over season, whether it's a different region influencing the rest of the regions or an individual team within that region that tries something completely off meta or what people would consider off meta. And then it is so successful that it slowly becomes the new meta itself. And that's why it's really cool to see what our players are bringing to the table. And you can see, like you said, it is a lot of Watson coming through this time. We get to start to see a little bit of Rampart in here, but pretty consistent across the board.
Definitely. People are vouching for the same playstyle and just swapping out the Caustic for Watson, making sure that, hey, we can keep the same macro, we can keep the same game plan, and I think that's a great idea. Seeing the zone as well here, though, you know, could be pulling out towards the bridge on the east side of this zone, which is a typical one we have seen, but if it does pull anywhere else, a lot of these teams will be fine because you're not really full committed. There will only be like 5 teams really full on committed to where they can't move late, whereas all the other teams are gonna opt to say wait for the next zone knowledge, and like I always like to say as well, going for that mid-speed rotation, because that's one of the most consistent ways of making it into late game with the way teams are playing currently, and it's just a good bet.
And we see here potential squads being caught out on a rotation. Hot Dog Mafia. Looks like Rambo is able to get a knock here, and they're going to be looking to move in and at least clear out some space for themselves. Obviously, no team wants to go out this early, so they're just going to be down to a duo now on the receiving end of that. And probably a smart choice. I believe it was Zone Spammers that was over there as well, to not really force anything too early if they're already on the back foot.
Yeah, I mean, Alter is also one of the characters that enables that to happen. If you don't have Alter and you can't TP out of the fight, that means you immediately lose that, you know, that opportunity when you get down. However, we talked about Unreal Nightmare earlier today, and they're looking very promising. I want to have a listen in to them to see what they're cooking up.
Do you have another wall, Rose, or no?
No.
No. Good.
I could take one of the top ones.
No, it's fine. Next time I'm gonna put a Newcastle wall facing the steps. That's the only thing I wanted.
I'll probably just have to hold the fucking stairs a little time. Stuff.
Make sure your walls are a little bit off.
With our rampart shit, technically later we could like TP off the bat. My TP doesn't get too far, but it's like far enough to where it gets us in the try to kidnap.
Oh my god. Yeah, you almost got me.
Yeah, I actually almost got yoinked.
Yeah, we have to.
He can set up his kidnap as well, and like
onto the wall or into a queue.
So, like it won't give you a rope to get back into it technically. If he's like, if it's possible down there. So just.
I'm fixing my walls real quick.
Can you place your walls like outside though? Like, we can get them right on the door. At least on this side. Just trying to queue me again.
Where do you want me to put them?
I don't know, just like out on the thing or something.
We gonna knock down Rose?
I mean, having that brief listening as well is they were very slow and surely just making sure that, hey, the zone is nothing is happening for at least 2 minutes. Just make sure you don't get kidnapped, because if you do, you might not be able to get back up. However, very slow looking gameplay right there, because what can you really do when you're in the next zone?
I mean, they did almost get kidnapped, just barely avoided that by the skin of their teeth. So as long as they stay safe in that situation, then they should be good. Meanwhile, I did see Ninjas in Pyjamas getting a knock in the kill feed. I believe it was on to LeaveNoWitness. It is. They're down to 1. Now, after a win in match number 1, you can see just the dichotomy that sometimes can be Apex Legends here, as now you've got a solo trying to survive, see if that maybe he can escape far enough and long enough to get a full reset for LeaveNoWitness. Ninjas in Pyjamas opts to not chase that, as it is pretty far north, and they've already at least moved partially in when it comes to safety in the next ring. So this will all be down to Zillach entirely to try and save the squad.
Should be a fairly comfortable reset right there, as we also see Falcons trying to reset.
What?
Lost one of them in the building here. It is very scary though, because Zero is down, but there's so many teams here that nobody should realistically make a full send play on Falcons, because if they do, that opens up for the 3P, that opens up for the 4P. So they should be getting a reset here at any time soon. But if not, well, then that's a rough game for them indeed.
Definitely less than ideal, but also, you know, we did get a chance to take a look at the current champs standings, and Falcons were one of those teams that have accumulated so many points across the way, as Waltzy's getting himself set up to try and create a safe landing space for Zero. He ends up getting taken out in the process. So now it's just Hal trying to survive down here, seeing what he can do, knowing that there is people looking at least down towards that Newcastle wall. Does manage to stick that respawn, and they will live to see another day.
I mean, that was crazy, because even Newcastle wall, but a small bit of that window was open to shoot his butt, and he got taken out. But they're both of them are back here. They can probably, hopefully, maybe get back in, and they do, because they are actually charging mid-air, and TP's back in. Now, however, double white armor and blue armor in the middle of the zone where there's several other teams is not somewhere you want to be, as they are getting absolutely demolished by every angle right now. They do have a safe spot, but people are not letting them get there for free.
They just don't have a lot of cover to be working with. Zero trying to use those iframes right now on Alter to at least give himself a little bit of breathing room to get some shield off. Tries to stick the res instead of continuing to heal, and gets punished for it immediately. They TP back. Honestly, that Alter coming in clutch, as Waltzy will try his best to get them reset, but they are getting absolutely hammered right now by everybody around them.
He got kidnapped and now he got thirsted. This is so hard, because you know who downed them as well? It wasn't even this building. It was the other building outside and widen them. They're getting angled by pretty much 4 different teams, not getting a second to breathe right now, and it is costing them dearly. However, one good note though, Zone is pulling pretty much on top of them, making them safe for a while. So if they can get another reset, I mean, it's hard, but it's possible.
It was like 3 kidnap attempts though, that wouldn't let them breathe. Like that corner was both safe and unsafe in those moments, and it's gonna be a rough road for Falcons right now. Like you said, not only did they not have the best armor, but all of the surviving they're having to do right now is eating away at their stores of heals. So they're gonna have to figure out a way to get some kills and find some bags to loot, because there are a lot of squads around them right now, and they're just barely hanging on. As you can see, still down to a duo, and they're gonna need to figure out a way to get Zero back up yet again, as we get to check in this time with DMG and see how their push in is working. I believe they're up by Liquid Alienware right now, and they're right on the edge of this next circle, so they can hold for a little bit if they don't want to push this fight, but don't have too much time.
They were fighting Liquid Alienware indeed, as we saw a leap coming out as well of the Newcastle. They do have the EMP play, and they have the scouting potential. But one thing we didn't see there, maybe some people caught it, some people didn't catch it. LeaveNoWitness actually still on the north side of the map could get a potential timing to make something happen, because at this point there's still 20 teams alive. Circle 2 closing, about to go into Circle 3 in 45 seconds. And when you have this many teams alive, anybody, just the smallest little flame happening anywhere, and people will jump into it.
Which does mean that LeaveNoWitness was able to get the full reset, as they're back up to a healthy squad. And we check back in with Falcons. It's no longer just Zero down. Waltzy's down yet again. Hal is last man standing, trying to survive inside of this truck. You can see that there was an attempt at a kidnap. And honestly, what can Hal really do here? There's no safe place for him to go, and everyone is staring at him.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard. At this point, you're just trying to stall as long as you can for other teams to make something happen. Because realistically, nobody would just push that unless they scout that van. But the teams that are nearby that are currently poking him probably knows that he is a solo in there. But anybody that comes late to the party might not. So they could lead up a potential. But things are looking very, very rough.
I think I saw another kidnap attempt on him right as we hopped off that top down. So we'll have to see if he's able to survive. LeaveNoWitness has officially made their way back into the fray. Falcons did go down. That was a kidnap, and Hal is eliminated. Team Falcons are the first team eliminated here in match number 2, and that is just not gonna feel great. Nice shot out of Renatricky though.
198. Why does it do so much damage? Nobody knows, but it is nice to hear the shot, not nice to feel the shot. LeaveNoWitness made it into the river, and they're actually on a good way of progressing into the next zone. They're already in the next one, have a option to go into the next one as well, into circle 5, potentially circle 4. And now Hot Dog Mafia in essentially the god spot where we talked about earlier. If it did end on the bridge, it ends very close to this bridge, around the side of the northern cliff of the bridge, where a lot of fighting will happen.
During that back and forth, both Sentinels and Unreal Nightmare are also eliminated as our teams are forced to collapse further in on each other. Checking back in with DMG, who was up by Liquid Alien, where they've now been joined by LeaveNoWitness. They went to the northern side of this circle, so now there's 3 teams in the fray, and DMG and Liquid Alien were just outside of it, so they will have to move in.
Let's go over there.
Yeah, I believe that Liquid Alienware could play potentially on top outside by that rock, maybe. But DMG not in a spot to where they can make a play, unless they play on the bridge where they could get pinched by a lot of things happening. Team Liquid Alien, we're probably looking to make them not run into them. We'll have to see if they can coexist here, but it's going to be hard as more teams are also moving in from the east.
You could see DMG trying to set up a little bit, give themselves some space as Liquid Alienware are looking their way with that charge rifle in the hands of Jaguares. Liquid Alienware are definitely going to be hoping they could potentially clear them out before they draw too much attention, because it's not just Liquid Alienware and DMG and LeaveNoWitness up there anymore. Just to the east, you also have THUGGETS and Ninjas in Pyjamas, and we know how this works. The longer these fights take, the more attention you're drawing to yourself. So ideally, they would like this to go as quickly as possible. As the ring has finally shrunk down, they will be forced to move out and figure something out. Meanwhile, over on the bridge, you've got DKK setting themselves up well for potential in this final circle.
I mean, DKK in a prime spot right now. They actually have the god spot on bridge and on the cliff. If they can hold off the cliff specifically rather than the bridge, they're looking really good to close this game out. And even as we speak right now, they have an opportunity of a window right here to shoot other teams trying to set up. However, for the teams on our northern side of things are forced to fight, CC included. CIMJ actually looking... They're in on their building, but if they get pushed in this building, it's not a comfortable spot to play at all, because like we saw earlier, people are getting kidnapped left and right by all the altar queues. However, needing to fight here, ZZ in a spot to where they're gonna run into 4 or 5 teams crossing them.
Ooh. Oh. DMG in a rough spot on this bridge. It's not really the best pace for them anymore. LeaveNoWitness is on the other side of it. They have Liquid Alienware at their back. They're down to a duo now trying to survive, and there's a lot of open space here with these teams having outside sightlines. ZZ looking in, and this is going to be a tough choice for DMG to try and make on how to survive.
I mean, Liquid Alien were immediately with the pinch on that bridge as DMG had to run out as a solo. He's currently alive as a solo, trying to make something happen with that TP, I believe. As LeaveNoWitness is underneath the bridge, CC is behind them by the big crane, actually shooting at Liquid Alien right now. But none of these guys are in the next zone. They all have to walk into at least 3 teams holding them out potentially.
ZZ looking, checking to see if the coast is clear for them to start making their move in. They do have no one at their backs, but quite a few teams just south of them that they are going to be keeping their eyes on. You can see that there, DMG, the solo, finally goes down at the hands of Ninjas in Pyjamas, as ZZ are finding a safe path through, relatively safe at least, with, you can see T-Law right on the other side of that wall.
Very scary for them indeed as well. They do have an angle to where they can maybe try and survive, but they are looking to shoot at CC right now with a team inside the building as well. Inside of another building, however, Nice Guys gets eliminated right here by 14K as they opt for that 3v3.
Came straight in on that PK shot out of 14K. Was wondering what 14K was going to do on the western side. They find themselves in a back and forth with Rock as well. Meanwhile, LeaveNoWitness on that low ground. They go down. Rock is back and forth with 14K in the kill feed, and we get to see what Liquid Alienware are deciding to do here with the ZZ now CIMJ situation. This wall is giving them a little bit of cover, but you can see the teams on the other side are also looking towards Liquid Alienware. That's going to be Ninjas in Pyjamas.
I I mean, now they're gonna get collapsed on immediately because they overpeaked and got punished by it. Sure, they got punished by 2 teams. However, Sykes also in a spot where he's not really that comfortable. That safe spot is maybe that wrong, potentially, depending on the hitbox of your character. But everybody right now is absolutely blasting them with Peters and short rifles.
They can't catch a break over there. CIMJ right inside this building, trying to look towards Zach Mazer, who's trying to do a little fancy footwork to stay alive for ZZ. The last player remaining, able to crouch a little bit behind these rocks, somehow continue surviving, but so many sniper shots are coming in his way. He's down to just a shred of health and is not able to survive. ZZ are eliminated, and there was not a whole lot he could have done there.
When you have DKK and also Ninjas in Pyjamas looking to shoot at you, it's not much you can do from that angle. That spot, if the wall might have been positioned a little bit differently potentially, but now watching Pioneers walk in with the zone here is going to be tough for them. But if they can cross to that enemy ping right there we see on the right side of the blue box, they might have a fighting chance to make something happen as they do get here. Now trying to make sure they don't get wiped from the right or from the left. But the teams on the left actually is gonna take that 3v3, it looks like. CIMJ running at them. Cruel Buckle is fighting right now. KCP looking really strong as they get that wipe, but they're still not safe. They have to walk in.
Definitely a really strong opportunity, though, that Pioneers took. They heard the fights happening, and this is what happens. They were able to take a third-party opportunity and get themselves a little bit farther. And this low ground is very unforgiving, though, as they have dropped straight on top of Ninjas in Pyjamas. They somehow survive. Ninjas in Pyjamas go down. Pioneers own that western side of the circle. Might have a little bit of time to reset, while DKK are now on top of this rock, looking down on THUGGETS.
I mean, we talked about it earlier as well. DKK having the absolute god spot on top of that cliff, managing to get a couple of extra KPs as well. But when we're talking about KPs right now, if there's a team on top of the bridge, this is their moment to dethrone DKK from the top of the cliff. If anybody wants to win the game, you have to opt for the fight on height. But if nobody's doing it, this is literally shooting fish in a barrel, as we can see with this PK hitting super hard at them. But they're feeling pretty good about themselves right now.
Well, you said it. The teams on the bridge started to do a little bit of damage to DKK. That Newcastle shield does come out to try and protect their backs so they can keep looking down on the squads below. But you have Zone Spammers and Hot Dog Mafia on that bridge, in that bridge area, trying to see if they can survive just a little bit longer. Hot Dog Mafia on that low ground. Zone Spammers right above, who were able to get back up to a full 3 after having lost one in the very beginning to Hot Dog Mafia. So this should be interesting to see if it's DKK that's able to close it out, or those teams by the bridge as THUGGETS are finally eliminated on that low ground.
This should be an easy game to close out for DKK as long as they don't make a big mistake. And there was almost right there. But he managed to ult back up, so that's a good thing. In worst case scenario, he probably could have TP'd up, but that could have cost them very dearly because the zone actually ends with a bit of the cliff inside, Lauren. That means the zone will end where they are standing and shooting at everybody else needing to collapse down below. The only way DKK can throw this is if somebody makes a YOLO full-on TP up on height, but that's probably not what we're seeing, as a lot of these teams are very good at this game. They know that we need to play for KP and we need to play for placement, not for the win, because that's very RNG.
Yeah, really, really good luck from DKK there. Meanwhile, Hot Dog Mafia have moved out from under the bridge. Ape Gang have gone straight dead center of that final circle, and Zone Spammers are waiting to the very last moment to make their move in. Hopefully what they're praying is going to be into a safe spot. It's not going to be easy for them, though. Hot Dog Mafia off on the side. Rambo does get knocked. As, like you said, DKK are just waiting for people to go out to the open.
They're just relaxing right here, as we say. DKK looking down at all 3 remaining teams as they bring out their utilities to try and survive. They managed to pick up 2 KP out of 3 from Zone Spammers. Very big, as the zone actually closes very slowly on the cliff. They're looking to close out this game right now.
Dropping down just a little bit to see if they can maybe get some more angles. The PK absolutely putting in work right now for Keon and crew. And DKK know that this is all about the perfect timing. You can see that Hot Dog Mafia are trying to set up. Ape Gang have somehow survived this entire time. Been very sneaky with it behind these walls, and it's going to come down to these last final moments. Will DKK be able to hold out to the very end and drop down to clean this up? You see Scalecake's getting a knock, and the final slam comes out from dropped. Hot Dog Mafia eliminated, and it's just a few more PK shots before DKK close out match 2.
So this is the thing. We pretty much knew that DKK would win immediately when the zone pulled to that cliff, and it ended pretty much on top of that cliff. But you know what they did that a lot of other teams struggle with? They got so many KPs across the board, from poking people from long range to shooting people into that late game. They got 2 out of 3 KP on zone spammers, and they got even more at the absolute end game. And that's where we're calling like the consistency of getting end game, but picking up those KPs is huge.
Yeah, they did a really good job of being patient too, you know, not trying to force any of those fights, just doing whatever poke they could from a distance, knowing that they had the best spot in the entire final circle, that they didn't really have to force anything that wasn't immediately given to them. And at the end of the day, it gives them 11 kills to go along with their win. So not too shabby for match number 2.
Oh, they're definitely happy with that. But if we look a little bit further down on the leaderboard as well, 8gang, Hot Dog Mafia, both of these teams are also happy with that. I always like to speak about the average of 6 points on average puts you in top 10 if you're happy with that and you're trying to make it into the regional finals. But when we're at the end of the day, if we're talking about consistency, needing to put up these points repeatedly is what you need to do. And if match 1 wasn't your thing, maybe match 2 would be there.
We get to see now what this means for our top 3. Get some damage stats coming through, because an almost 6K game for match number 2 out of DKK is gonna feel real good for Keon Knocked and Dropped. They just did so much damage between their snipers and the PK, able to really clean a lot of that up, followed by 8gang and Hot Dog Mafia, who, to be fair, did a really good job surviving on that low ground for as long as they did, because it was a messy and chaotic low ground. And this is what it means for our series results here so far. 41 total points go the way of DKK, giving them a pretty decent margin, considering they also had that 2nd place finish in match number 1. So the consistency for DKK is definitely there right now, Graceful.
I mean, they're hitting end game every single game so far. Only 2 games have been played, but making sure that you get 2nd and then 1st, and also a huge amount of KP pickups at that last game, is really good for them. They're soaking up so many points right now that further down you go, it's gonna be up, like it could go down to the last game where you could move up from bottom 15 to all the way up to maybe top 5 if they keep soaking up these points.
And we talk about that a lot, right? What are those point sponge teams doing to the rest of the lobby? Well, it's pretty early to tell just yet, so we're gonna have to wait and see. So of course, we're gonna send it to a short break, and when we return, we'll be diving straight into match number 3. Don't go anywhere.
This is going to be massive as there's 3 spots left. Boogie Borders and Dreamfire have got themselves into a bit of a scrap, and Dreamfire is so damn low. I don't know if they can survive the onslaught coming their way from Boogie Borders. Otherwise, they'll certainly play spoiler and third party.
Yeah, Boogie Borders just need to play it safe. There's a solo on the high. They're doing crossing dash to the hand as well. That's a great crossing goal. And Boogie Borders take the game another one here. BCG Rezzing just trolled the hell out of.
Sony InZone, the official monitor of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Welcome back to the Americas here at the ALGS as we've just wrapped up match number 2 and we're preparing to move into match number 3. DKK running the show right now, Graceful, and especially in that last end game, it is nice to see a team that knows when they've won the game and knows how to close it out. We'll take a look at this one, but I gotta be real with you. From, like you said, the moment that we pull to DKK, there's not a lot of complicated stuff that happens from DKK's perspective. It is more just knowing where to look for kills and when, which I do think they did a really good job of, knowing what teams had to move and where they should be looking as a squad so that they could actually be securing the KP and not letting it go to anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, like I said as well, they were phenomenal at closing out KP, and not only here, but also earlier. But making sure that you keep your positioning up high is so important, and a lot of teams do end up making mistakes sometimes where like you're overly looking for KP, you get punished immediately in this meta, and then now you lost your gods, but you lost that game. But DKK not letting that happen with a nice slam by drop there, hitting that one more kill. They actually got 2 kills before, and they get 3 kills right there. That means 5 KP for them for free. That was phenomenal.
Yeah, 11 kills after that game leaves us with 1 more match on World's Edge, and that's going to be an interesting one since we've not only got no Caustic, but now also no Newcastle, and Newcastle saved a lot of teams. It is also telling that we've managed to hold on to Alter for so long, so there's still a lot of safety in plays to be made, but the reset potential that you see with things like Newcastle and the ability to hold space with things like Caustic no longer exists.
Yeah, I mean, and never mind the fact that we're talking about the reset potential of Alter, we're also looking at the Q through walls. It's very volatile. All it takes is for somebody to get double Peter shot or charge rifle immediately, and any team can just bust in through the walls. There's nothing saving you even in these buildings. So having potentially, if Alter does end up getting banned now, or if another character does, I feel like on World's Edge specifically, she's the most potent due to the fact that everything is so close here compared to the likes of Stormpoint or Edishriek, where you can visibly see everything. There's so much space around you, there's so many pathings, you don't really get locked in. But when you're locked into a small space enclosure here on World's Edge, it's even more terrifying.
Moving into our 3rd match, it does appear that, like we're talking about Alter, that Alter is once again at the very top of the table when it comes to picks. This time tied with Watson, which has been the pivot for a lot of teams out of Newcastle. So again, we're going to be looking at what teams place highly and figuring out what legend gets banned as we move into Stormpoint, because if either Alter or Watson are available, both are going to change Stormpoint dramatically. Taking a look at this zone, however, this is right on top of CIMJ, who have got a ring console. I'm looking at THUGGETS over at Countdown, who have got one, and I can't tell if DKK have one at Epicenter, but this is the game where you'd certainly like it. LeaveNoWitnesses have already scouted this out. You can tell because of the balloon that they've placed, or that has been placed for them over at Overlook once they hit the ring scan. But getting into Monument and getting specifically into the part of Monument that you think it's pulling to is going to be the thing you must do. DKK did in fact do that over at Epicenter, and it is a sprint to what you imagine will be Center Zone.
Yeah, I mean, we're still seeing all of these teams here. Actually, Unreal Nightmare immediately bringing it to a fight here, getting down Smiles and Thursim. Huntsman, as we saw in the clip earlier in the pre-show, was very passionate, and I love passionate people. You have to be locked in, you have to be ready, and like I always communicate as well, in your comms, if you put emphasis and feeling into it, it makes it more clear. It makes it more, if I just say, Dia, can you push that? You're not really gonna push that, but if I say, push that, Dia, you're gonna push that every day. And having that little bit of communication from Huntsman is what we heard from the clip is really nice.
Yeah, and it makes a huge difference, like you're talking about, because it isn't just a game of words. Volume is communication in a lot of ways, and we're seeing a lot of that play out even in the close range fights between Falcons and THUGGETS. Finally, something goes Falcons' way. THUGGETS are down, and Monument gets a little bit safer for them, as they were one of the teams that from Harvester with the ring console sprinted it into center zone and now have a building.
Yeah, Falcons definitely looking a lot happier than last game, where they were getting shot in whites and blues by absolutely everybody in that building in Lava Siphon. Now, getting 3 KP from the start is always good, and they have a prime real estate essentially. Depending on where the zone pulls, if it does end up pulling away, you're gonna have to work a little bit harder, but it does look like the zone is actually pulling more towards the Monument or Frag side and Monument side comparatively to the west side. So that's a good thing for them. As we see, more teams are also walking in. One of the teams that actually won the last game, DKK, in a really good spot here. However, this is also one of the areas where you're very happy because you're central, but this is one of the buildings that you don't really have super many safe spots, because any team can just peek through windows and doors at you, and there's so much area to hold. It's a little bit scary, but I believe they can do it.
And if I'm honest, I mean, like I said, you know, or like you said, I'm very supportive of this position. I think you can get a lot done from here. There aren't a lot of end zones that pull directly on top of DKK. A lot of them will be a little bit to the north, which will force them eventually to exit this building and take a fight. It's not an end game building that, you know, you're hoping zone pulls to or basically on top of. You will eventually have to exit. ZZ, who are moving over through landslide, actually should have a zone scan themselves, but the survey beacon is really what's let them take this fight. Picking that up at landslide, they are moving right on top of KCP, and having already taken one down, remember, we've still got altars in this game. KCP can disengage, but instead, they will choose to reset. KP Bubble gets taken down by Zach. A nice quick EMP, which might lead to a knock on Jay, but instead it's Cruel Buckle that goes down first. ZZ, unrelenting, continue to push KCP right into the arms of TSM on the other side.
TSM right there also joining the fray and getting a KP for free in the bag on the likes of KCP. Very happy with that, as they're still not, you know, they're not in any danger by any means. They're just scouting ahead. Most of these teams actually, well, not most, well, actually most of these teams are running crypto. Makes it a lot easier to make sure that you are safe and you're not getting walked up on. Outside of the fact that people are running charge rifle with a 6x so you can actually scout, makes it very nice for them to get a free KP. Let's rotate and see what happens, as Falcons once again in a fight as he gets downed by Rock.
EMP being eaten by the Falcons as well. Takes away a lot of the safety they had with Watson, and Hal's not able to put up the fences in time. Is going to have to 1v2 as Rock start moving in, swinging this door. Zero gets pushed on the bottom floor, and Hal's got to come to support, and they do in time, working in tandem. Falcon and Zero push off Rock and get the reset. Waltzy managing to heal in the meantime. No EMP available for Rock again. And now Falcons get to rebuild and actually sustain through this Rock push.
They get a reset also because one of the Rock members tried to walk in through the top door where he was getting shot from the side by other teams. And that's one of the things that before, when there's no sniper meta, you have a lot of more leeway to take these cheeky angles. But now as we're walking into the point where you get 2-tapped by Peter or 1-tap by charge rifle, like we just saw right there, immediately explode. Yeah. You don't have the room to make these mistakes. Rock, however, looks like they managed to get out a little bit, and now it's just a reset for both sides. But Falcons very happy with that. Ninjas in Pyjamas, as we're looking right now, are also holding off their spot.
Should be able to do so, maybe even denying a res. We'll see through the highlights if this res does actually go off. There's no damage ticking for the Ninjas in Pyjamas, but it does speak volumes. I'm going to add here that in general, high ground is a good thing. In this meta, sometimes that's not true. Ninjas in Pyjamas, a little bit isolated, actually get McLovin pushed in his own bubble. And DMG very quickly actually turn this fight around with Liquid Alienware getting involved on the high ground, and Liquid Alienware, a team that desperately needs points. They've been very consistent this season, unfortunately consistently in bottom 5, and that's something Liquid Alienware are hoping to turn around in the second round robin.
Yeah, I mean, we also have to highlight right there that DMG made a huge EMP Wraith TP play. The EMP hit immediately came out of the TP and just punished them. Also, they did get punished by Liquid Alienware walking up behind NIP in the back right there. One of the members of NIP gets out, though, should be able to get a reset potentially, but DMG very happy with that play, as they're now looking to see if they can make something happen against Liquid Alienware. But if Ninjas in Pyjamas get a reset here, they're going to be more than happy to 3P that if a potential should arise right there. Zone, however, pulling more towards one of the zones we saw earlier in the region of EMEA, where it's more towards the frag side rather than the monument side. It looks like could be pulling up a little bit, but if it does pull up, end up pulling southeast, more than happy with that. One of the endings that I personally like here though is the one I like to call Park. That's the top right in the next zone's Moby res, or the res beacon right there. That's if it ends in that area, I'm a big fan of it. Around that crane outside of train station, I feel like you have a lot of cheeky angles, and if you like mechanical plays where you see a lot of wall bouncing, maybe a little bit of cheeky super glide, that's the area to do all of those fancy plays.
DMG trying to make it there by clearing their backs. They're going to do so, taking out McLovin once again. This is a reset that's being punished by the Ninjas in Pyjamas. And DMG chasing even into zone. Have just one member left in their sights. Now, Ninjas in Pyjamas have sent Kurev out to try and rat this, but unfortunately he gets spotted by Sentinels. Not going to focus too much on that push, however, as Ninjas in Pyjamas do largely seem to reset. DMG retreating back to Epicenter and leaving Sentinels to do what they will. Out goes the Void Nexus. That's going to be spotted by everyone, and I'm including DMG here. Ninjas in Pyjamas put themselves basically dead center of Epi, with a big target on their back. Epicenter very much being fought over as well, as it is one of few places where you can get Ring 3 scan. There is a ring console right in the center of Epi. If you're able to claim it, if you're able to hold on, as Liquid Alienware will do, you'll have access to a lot more information.
Indeed, as NIP gets eliminated right there. Sentinels coming in late with the zone, playing right there on the platform. Northwest is looking happy with that one cheeky KP. DMG, however, occupies the what I like to call the icicles up top of that cliff. Very happy with that play, as they do have still the same combo as we saw earlier. If they can land an EMP, potentially a Wraith TP play again on any team down below, they could make stuff happen.
It'll be a matter of when you choose to drop down and how that EMP gets timed with it. One of the most critical cooldowns that we're seeing around these team fights. DMG holding Epicenter, though, do have priority on Ring 3 scan. For right now, we'll hit the survey beacon. And I am very curious whether they actually take advantage of this Ring 3 scan or not. You'd expect them to, as they are, again, the only team that actually can get this info. But it is going to cost them when it comes to actually pulling out meds in zone, tanking the ring for a little bit, to know that we are going a little closer to the park. Maybe a little further south, but I think you'll like this zone plenty, Graceful.
I mean, I like this zone plenty. It might not be dead center park, but it could be pulling a little bit. Hot Dog Mafia, train station, currently very happy. Durags in the middle of where the beacon building is are more than happy, as well as all of these teams on the far west side is going to have to engage each other. And speaking of engaging, I would like to hear how DKK is solving this fighting potential. So let's have a listen in with DKK. Sorry for that, actually. We'll have to see another moment, as you had a little bit of an issue right there, but that's fine, as Keon is currently lighting things up with nades right now, having the Eva and Scout in hand. No real play is happening, as they both got extended with both of the nades and the utility usage, but nothing so far has unfolded, as everybody trying to get angles, but gets angled by other teams.
Yeah, a lot of other squads here, so you have to be careful about when you engage, when you full commit, and have the backup of your squad. DKK's problem is not only this, though, it is going to be their rotation coming up next. The amount of crypto drones in the air right now, looking in the upper left, yeah. Everyone has scouting. You know where every team in the lobby is. You know, Falcons are right on top of Unreal Nightmare. It's going to be one more down, and Unreal Nightmare down to just Huntsman right now on the Ash, with very little reset potential left as they are dead center zone. Falcons reset, play on the low ground, look for yet another fight, this time up against DMG. They're already having a turnaround game. This is a much more active in their favor game than Falcons had 20 minutes ago.
I mean, this is the proactiveness we're used to seeing out of Falcons, where they're so happy taking fights to people instead of just getting played and trying to get kidnapped on. They're the ones pushing the fights to other people. Seeing that charge rifle in play as well is terrifying with the select fire, as Hot Dog Mafia, however, on the eastern side is looking to rotate a little bit further, as they are now occupying the bottom floor of train stations, sharing this potentially with Pioneers potentially from the eastern side later. You know, there's several layers to this. You can either play right here where Hot Dog Mafia is, you can play down below them, or even up on top, because a lot of this next zone that's not really in, as we can see the zone right here on the map, a lot of other heights aren't in. So that opens it up for top of train station being in as well. As the zone is pulling even further south, this is gonna be a juicy one.
Yeah, we are going to get a lot of, if we're gonna go that way, streamer building plays. Very famous area of Fragment, as Rock will have to be approaching this from the outside, playing through the train line. They've got ZZ right next door to them, and Rock consider their options. Resetting back into Monument, I'll say, is a risky choice, as you want to be able to contest for high ground against only one team. Rock seem to be suffering from a bit of indecision. Do we actually stay up here and fight ZZ, or do we go down into the mess with everyone else?
Most definitely into the mess as we speak, right underneath that small staircase. LeaveNoWitness trying to survive for the moment, as they're gonna get EMP'd immediately by the one of the many cryptos in the game, as Team Liquid Alien were immediately, the EMP hits and they immediately bubble, staying safe for the moment. And LeaveNoWitness is trying to pray, please don't look at us, as they are getting gunned down right next doors.
Gibby's too tall, getting shot even through the bubble, or rather, very tip top of it. Does leave LeaveNoWitness essentially cooked on the high ground. They've got no cover. They've got no Gibby up to give them that fake cover now, and LeaveNoWitness will go down. 16 squads left, as DKK actually playing very well to have moved themselves a little closer, have a spot technically in zone. CIMJ pushed to try and take it away from them, and DKK managed to clear them out. CIMJ almost gone, while DKK play the Gibby bubble from the team below them. CIMJ are out. Nice Guys and DKK share a building. EMP comes in as 14k residents go down, and ZZ from the outside of Fragment are farming the lobby with the 30-30s. Falcons eventually drop down seemingly out of nowhere, having lost 2 and just down to 0, as the Nice Guys will fall.
Just down to 0 because we had about 5 teams needing to collapse from the northern side right there. DKK, one of the teams that have been top 2, top 1 the game after, and now still in a pretty much endgame scenario, moving into it, just about 13 teams alive, feeling really good about themselves, currently sitting at 45 points, saying that, hey, there is a team above, can we try to kidnap, can we do something, as they're getting engaged on right now by Legatron, making huge plays with R9PK.
Down to just knocked. Looking for a way out, a way to save the team. He may hit a reset here, but no. Shot in the side as DKK and Falcons go out at basically the same time. Rock commit onto low ground into ZZ, and might actually do it. Sorcerer cleans out ZZ and takes the low ground for his team.
Trying to get the reset a little bit hard right there with bodies on the backs as well, but he does, it looks like he should be fine for the moment. The EMG still doing works right here with that PK, as now Rock Esports down in the lava gets taken out, as TSM is very happily looting that up.
A nice extension by TSM, good timing, and to eliminate Rock here actually puts TSM in a fantastic position. They've got a spot in next zone, they've got a building in next zone. Nice shot by DMG. Let's put them just a little bit ahead and grab a KP here to add to the already 4 that they have, making it a 5th for the squad. And we'll take that one up to 6 as Ape Gang just throw themselves into the back of DMG. EMP to buy DMG a little bit more space to close the gap. Into streamer building they go. Sentinels already here and setting up Watson fences. This is where you'll see the majority of teams stack on top of each other. We got Liquid Alien, where Sentinels, Durags, Hot Dog Mafia, and DMG all inside this building.
All of the PKs are singing. We hear about 10 PKs go off at the same time right now, as DMG is on the bottom. We have T-Law in the middle, and we have Sentinel 1 floor up as well, as teams are trying to survive. TSM gets a Kraber somewhere, gets a down on DMG, but not too much is going to happen right now, maybe unless he starts widening very deeply. Oh, he is widening very deeply. Panic is looking to make plays. However, EMP comes out. Faces come out from DJ Killa. We saw that setup from earlier. Managed to hold them off as they get a reset. Nades are coming out as well. It's not going to be as easy to wipe them out.
That was a very nice play by DJ Killa and DMG to keep TSM at bay, even with the EMP they had to expend. Hot Dog Mafia do go down, and Liquid Alienware, this could be their game. A team that has desperately been needing better results has moved up slightly in the leaderboards today. If they manage to clean this building out, this could be Liquid's way back into the Americas Pro League. Nazul bubbles backwards. This is a defensive move, giving DMG the advantage around the outside, who get to reset with no problems. Defensive nade gets thrown out. Nazul swings with it, buys a little bit of space, gets just a tickle of damage. 104 to the face does help. The Liquid Alienware do still have to back off. Too many angles by DMG on the outside, and the DMG will be unharassed. Uncontestable. Liquid Alienware have to leave this and play for the inside for the exit. Watch the bubbles as teams are forced to leave this building and move towards TSM, who are solo in the building that they hold down to the southwest.
TSM has not let up under pressure at all, as T-Law heard that down and is immediately looking to collapse on them. 2 members of DMG is down, and they should be out just about now, as TSM owns majority of the zone actually. Zone spammers and pioneers are to the east of them and are gonna have to fight for something, but if TSM can lock down the eastern side right there by the walls potentially, good things could come out. But the zone actually ends between all of these 3 buildings out in the middle of the street. It comes down to which GB bubble gets thrown out last and which has the most cover to get out. And it's actually looking really good for Liquid Alienware and Sentinels in this building, because I believe the zone is right outside of their building. Their building is out the last.
Liquid Alienware need to find the most cover between them and TSM. It is these 2 squads. They're going to be at each other's throats, like you're talking about. Gibby Bubbles, the key cooldown in this end game. EMP goes out, that's 1. ZMPs can cause a real big problem. Out goes the Ultra TP. Liquid Alienware out into the open. Are gonna bubble now, but an EMP immediately takes the bubble down. No, it gets canceled. Liquid Alienware hold on to their cover, so do Sentinels, and now Liquid Alienware get to hug the wall. Sentinels right on the other side of Yanya. He's got to be careful. The rest of Liquid Alienware move over to join him, while TSM far on the southern side of this wall. Zone spammers go out. Sentinels are forced into TSM. Liquid Alienware all aligned, but they get wrapped up by TSM as well. TSM play both sides of the fence, moves down to 2 squads, and it's 1 member of Liquid Alienware left. Yanya cannot stand in the face of TSM, who run this lobby in game 2.
TSM breaking those teams apart as the zone collapsed from the eastern side. Everybody was forced to fight each other because TSM was showing so much pressure, probably with that Kraber, probably with Panic's nades. We saw those nades hit really hard as they're trying to force everybody else to fight each other. We talked about it earlier. Can you hold out your side and you're good? As also Team Liquid Alienware had a good timing, almost got punished by the crypto EMP. The drone gets destroyed, but that does not matter, because when you have 3 teams needing to come from the same side, you're bound to get a team that is challenging your side of the wall.
TSM ran that game so hard, it knocked me back a whole game, guys. Game 3, I was sitting there like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. Oh my lord, though. Playing both sides of the fence, playing this single building that they managed to have all to themselves. I mean, TSM did a really good job of controlling space and did so, honestly, pretty quietly up until the end game, up until the last rings. We saw them extend towards Rock, like you mentioned. They gathered a lot of KP. They were very active, but they weren't making crazy pushes. They were sending single members out here and there to grab KP, and that makes a huge difference when we get into the end game zone.
I mean, those are the things you have to talk about when you have the likes of Crypto as well, and you have, you know, Alter specifically, when you can roam far and still get back to your teammates. And you have to take advantage of that. And we saw that by, like you said, the lava play, to get the loot from there. And then now this whole team had to play outside the building, DMG, they're trying to pressure and punish them. And I always like to say, you have to play proactively, because if you don't try, if you don't at least try to get an opportunity, like, it never comes. So it's really important, and I love to see this proactiveness out of TSM, because that's how you rack up more kills. That's how you rack up more loot as well. And it really, they played phenomenally that game.
TSM with 7 KP match up nicely to Liquid Alienware's 11. Liquid actually pushing ahead and technically grabbing the first place in overall points this game, despite not finding the win. Pioneers right behind them, a little bit low on the kills, but still a pretty good day for, or rather a pretty good game for Pioneers. Let's take a look at the TSM Liquid Alienware stats comparison, because these two teams were really what it came down to. We were talking about it for basically the last two zones, but Liquid Alienware were set up for success, as were TSM, and it ends up working out really well for honestly both squads. I don't think as either team you're walking away unhappy with what just happened.
I think both of the teams are definitely very happy with that, as we also see, you know, even though they got second, they got first overall in that in that match specifically, but we see TSM move up all the way to 4th place right here in total points, and we can see the first two teams, Liquid Alienware being one of them, as DKK is 45. It's very even after top 2. Glitter, in general, do you agree with this match being very heated, but also a little bit top heavy in the overall leaderboard?
Yeah, and I'm here for it, okay? First of all, the absolute insanity that all of those altar portals were causing at the end to get everybody out of the buildings, out into the open, was pure chaos. The fact that the EMP got canceled and somehow left the Gibby bubbles up for a little bit longer to give some additional cover, also insane. But like, there were so many good teams in the final fights that it was honestly just down to luck of the draw with your final circle positioning, and TSM had so much open space and no one near them on their side that it was bound to go their way. But I mean, that was fun. That was really, really good final circle. The teams fought very well for those last scraps of points, and Tila able to do a little bit of a comeback there at the end is also kind of cool to add into the story. I think definitely an opportunity for a lot of those teams to go back and see what, if anything, could have been done differently in trying to secure a little bit more KP in those situations, which is something we've been talking about throughout all of EMEA, as well as just in general in relation to comp in the ALGS. You know, how does one improve? How do you get better? How important are the non-game specific things like VOD review in your journey? And that's something that you guys are going to talk about here today. You did a really cool segment earlier in EMEA, so if nobody saw that, if you guys in chat missed it, go check that out. We're going to do something similar here today and do a little bit of VOD review with Dia and Graceful for everybody at home. So Dia, tell us a little bit about what we're looking at.
In sticking with the theme that we've got in the Americas today, looking at what teams are causing the most disruption, I really wanted to follow and check in with Unreal Nightmare, who made a big splash last week. They had some really good games. Obviously, we saw their win, and they had some games where they looked like they were in a good spot, but fell a little short. And it's that I've selected as we moved on to World's Edge with this team. They had a really good game moving out of Landslide, and Graceful, I wanted to get your perspective as a pro to break down how you'd go about VOD reviewing this, maybe solving things for the future, what they've done well, and what they can look to improve. So let's roll the clip and see what we've got for Unreal Nightmare.
Right below us. Yes, on the crane, I'm killing a whole there. Oh no, do not die. Oh, they're so weak under us. There's 2 knocks under us, by the way, 2 knocks. Ready, close. Whole team crane. One of them. Right under us, right under us. Yes, yes. We should drop, guys. It's one more knock. Drop it. Team of off. Speaking of us. Killing. A kid. Speaking of us. 100. One. 80 foot. I want to fight. Saw you. I gotta kill.
So, yeah, I mean, we still had Huntsman on screen. We still had his passionate comms, albeit a little more subdued because this play didn't quite end up going their way. What was the big standout for you, Graceful, when these last couple of minutes of play happened?
I would like to say that if we could have had a couple of seconds earlier leading into that positioning, I would have loved to hear, did they pre-plan anything at all? Because it all sounded very last second. And this is one of the things as an IGL that you want to avoid. You don't want to make things confusing for your teammates so that everybody's on the same page and knows what's going to happen. So they did say that 2 guys are down and we're going to drop down low. But I would almost, honestly, in hindsight, obviously it's 2020 because we get to see everything in the full picture that you probably don't have while you're playing the game. However, I would probably have liked to see them drop down on the height above where they dropped to make sure and fight for something, because a lot of the times you don't want to get into a positioning where you're praying that teams on the other side of the wall, it's just things are going to happen favorably for you. You would rather take it in your hands and make sure that if we just drop and we get this fight immediately and win, we're now in a favorable position to be proactive. What really looked at them from there is they dropped and immediately we saw the Ash Davis try to Ash TP back up. Nobody know what happened. Oblivion climbed on them and PK them. Those are the situations we want to avoid. As the flip side of things we saw earlier, you know, in the clip from before, very vocal. They said, I'm pushing this bridge. I'm about to full swing. Everything was very clear and communicative. And it's very hard to do this when everything is last second. How are you gonna pre-plan if you're last second? I just found out about it, so now we have to do it. One guy drops way earlier, and if there was a team there, he would have been insta-dead. So a lot of the times you just have to try to be on the same page. So I would like to see them work. From this clip specifically, obviously they probably have other things they work on and prioritize. From this clip that we can take away is that try to be on the same page and pre-plan a little bit better, because that would help your team be on the same page.
Yeah, and we are working in pretty small segments, right? Yeah. As to what works well, what maybe could be improved on, but a lot of the VOD review is being done by the teams as well. And I think you've identified a pattern for this team that I actually noticed in the other VOD reviews, was that they're not normally planning too far ahead and instead are sort of by the seat of their pants. Sometimes it's clear, sometimes it's not. How do you make that consistent is certainly something that Unreal Nightmare can look forward to solving as they continue to climb up the ranks here in the Americas Pro League. So I think those are our big takeaways, Glitter. A very impressive team, but we've identified some stuff that can make them even better.
Very impressive analysis as well, as always, guys. Thank you so much for doing that. That was very cool. So hopefully all of you in chat enjoyed that as well. And another thing that all of you in chat are going to enjoy is a little special announcement about maybe some merch. Okay, because, you know, we couldn't have ALGS without something to give to you guys, because some limited drops have just arrived at the Play Apex shop. And trust me, you do not want to miss out on these. While you're there, be sure to sign up for notifications, because there are limited edition encoded Nessie shirts available September 16th. And rumor has it, there will be a launch discount promo for a short time. So make sure you check that out, because there's some really cool stuff that you guys could be picking up here during our split. I know I'm gonna check it out myself as well, you know, especially get that promo code. All right, now we've got to start talking about match number 4, though, because we got through our first 3 matches today, which also means to everybody home, we're now changing maps. Let's take a look at the POI drops, see what's going on here as we move towards Storm Point. So let's start the discussion here, Dia. Give me your thoughts.
I'm taking a look at the drops, and I think what's standing out to me here is Liquid Alien, where a team that I've got my eye on for today are going to be dropping over at North Pad. Some pretty good rotations, nice Trident availability. I think the problem here is that ZZ are right next to them at that very same Trident, so we could see a lot of traffic around the northwestern side of the map. A little further down, Ape Gang getting Pylon is just an interesting notable, as is Falcons grabbing Cascade. Not something that we typically see them play out of, and nonetheless something that they prioritized. It's very clear that this was their first pick, but Cascade for Falcons doesn't quite make sense to me when they're normally playing around the Lightning Rod Thunderwatch area.
Yeah, definitely going to be a little bit different for them. And Graceful, I also want to ask, because something that we saw in Americas that we didn't see in EMEA was a very early Newcastle ban. Newcastle was available in EMEA. He's not going to be available here now on Storm Point. So how do you think that's going to play into our Storm Point gameplay?
I mean, to build on that Falcon picks as well, I think that is tied into it as well. I saw a post on Reddit, actually, shout out to Reddit and everybody in chat, is that if you're expecting something and it's something completely different, that can shake things up. Like somebody said, you know, Falcon thought that it would be very aggressive. It wasn't aggressive. They got punished. Falcon thought it was going to be very defensive. It was very offensive, and they got punished for it. So now they're just trying to make things happen and try to predict what's going to happen. Because at the end of the day, we just have to go off of based previous rounds and matches and then try to solve things. And I think a lot of these teams might end up doing that, especially with the legend bans as well. However, I do think that it is a solid point to start from somewhere, I guess.
I love it. I love it, Graceful. Thank you very much. It's been a long day here so far for you in America. So we're going to give you a quick break. Me and Dia are going to take over as we head into match number 4. So we'll see you back here in just a little bit. But Dia, it's time to start diving into Storm Point. I'm sure we're still going to get a lot of the Bubble Trident combos here, but no Newcastle to go with that Gibby Rampart Newcastle trio?
No, unfortunately, no, or fortunately, I don't know. It depends on what side of this you're on. Yeah, I know that, what is it, Alter got taken out after last weekend? Yeah, it was Alter that is now banned. So moving into Stormpoint, I will say, glad to see Alter taken out. She's fun to have for a few maps, but in the long term, I like seeing the forgiveness that teams get with Alter taken away. And as we move into this match, all I'm thinking, Glitter, is it's game 4. It's game 4. It's not game 3. It's game 4. It's game 4.
Listen, sometimes the matches are just so good you lose track of where you are, Dia. I've had it happen to me before.
It's true. And I won't get hung up on this. I won't be thinking. I will move on so quickly onto Stormpoint, which I will say is one of the best maps if you're looking for a little bit of nuance to be brought into your Apex Legends, because there's so much diversity in how the zones here play. There is so much height discrepancy that you can look forward to, and unlike World's Edge, there's not a whole lot of safety here. If a team wants to fight you, they are gonna fight you. You can't just bunker inside a building and hope for the best.
Yeah, I'm just gonna throw this out there just for consideration while we're watching TSM do their opening loot here. Checked the legend picks real quick. We have just as many Maggies as we do Ramparts in this lobby right now. And we had talked about the patch notes potentially making Maggie more viable. Well, you know, just saying.
Yeah, true. I don't think that this is a misguided analysis by any means. Teams are absolutely reading the patch notes and going, Maggie's about to be pretty good. She's already not terrible. Let's give her some practice here, and if we're making her work pre-buff, imagine how much better things are going to be once the buff comes through. This is very telling, though. Remember I said we'd get traffic around to the northwest side about Liquid Alien and ZZ? What if the zone pulled there, though? What if that happened?
Just an idea, you know? This is gonna be crazy, and you can see the swiftness with which you've got Ninjas and Pyjamas up there, Durags moving up, LeaveNoWitness straight in from the wall. I mean, people knowing that, one, there were already, like you said, a lot of teams up there, and two, that means even less real estate options to hold as early as possible. So this is going to be a rough fight. And as I say that, LeaveNoWitness already lose one and are down to an injured duo on white shields. I mean, this is gonna be tough.
It is. You know, Liquid and ZZ, we're focusing on them, but you gotta feel bad for the teams around them, like LeaveNoWitnesses, Nice Guys, NIP, who all actually have ring console and a close POI and go, we can make it. But everybody else knows that as well. So we've got teams from around the map full sending into the North Pad area, and you get a lot of competition really early on. I don't think LeaveNoWitnesses were prepared for said competition to show up so early. Hopefully they'll get a bit of a reset. Liquid Alien, where have already chosen their spot. It is a little far out in the water, but a spot like this, you got to imagine, should get you to at least a top 10 position.
You know, it's at least going to also give them that added measure of safety. You guys talked about it a lot throughout both of our series here so far, you know, being aware of who's at your back, making sure your back's constantly cleared out. They've set up some additional fences out in the water, hopefully in their mind, you know, in case they need to catch a trident or something like that, have that information. But right now they're at the epitome of the slow side of the zone, so they can really hang out there for quite some time and kind of let everybody else figure out what they want to do and kind of play off of those decisions as the teams are coming in. And we got a quick little second there to see our first bubble trident rotate of Stormpoint.
The first of many. This has become the meta. I was after our interview this morning with Aku, I was on Twitter and people were like, well, I mean, obviously you just don't need Wraith if you're going to pull off the trident bubble rotates. And it's true. It's weird, but it's true. That is a nice headshot from Noct. DKK rolling up towards the zone. DKK and Falcons actually in the same boat here, not getting a zone read particularly early on, have sort of moved in the same direction as everyone else, but are late to the game and are playing for Evo more than they are for end game position. So DKK's setup temporary. They're not too attached to it because realistically, you're playing for a better spot later. And you can actually get that if any teams are interested in moving down to Cedo, moving through Downed Beast, even late rotating through Wall. Those are all POIs that can give you third beacon information that'll let you play an endgame even better.
Not to mention, DKK can afford to be a little bit wildly aggressive because of how they've set themselves up in the series, but a team that's had a little bit slower start of the series is definitely Falcons, as we see them trying to get themselves set up here. You had mentioned that they were in similar rotational areas as DKK. Well, now Falcons find themselves in a bit of a back and forth with the Durags trying to hold on to this lower ground position. They're able to hit some nice shots here at the PK from Hal. Could keep them off.
Does he cancel that bat? Why does he die so quickly? Nice guys. Nice guys are good. I swear he canceled that bat. Falcons reset. Nice guys go down. I'm left with a few question marks, but ultimately a win for Falcons. It takes them that much further in the game. And already moving up to 10th place is a better spot than they were in on the first day of Pro League. So Falcons, despite making some changes or cooking up some changes for the future, are already improving as a trio as we go from day to day.
Hot Dog Mafia, team that started off the day pretty well so far. Now checking in on them here as we've moved into store point, all alone in command center right now. So they're going to be able to at least grab a little bit of loot and try to continue through from that eastern side. Could potentially run into a few squads the farther in they push, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with their rotate once they make their way out of command center. But they do have at least a lot of information at their disposal with that Sparrow.
Gonna get a lot more too. One of, I'm gonna count them, 1, 2, 3, 4 teams? 5. One of 5 teams that now have access to this. I'm noticing Rock, TSM, Hot Dog Mafia, Pioneers, and the Thuggets will all have... Oh, and Zone Spammers up at North Pad. All now know where this zone is going. And actually, it's pulling really well for Liquid Alienware. This is a bit further north than you'd normally expect it to go, but something about Liquid Alienware is on today. They had a good game number 3. See what they can cook up in game number 4, but this is a team that needs a comeback. I believe they need to be placing top 4 to secure themselves a spot in Japan. They can hit top 4 in PL, which they are far from right now, being in the bottom 10 teams at the moment. The first place today would do a lot of good in moving them closer to Japan.
That would be a big push out of Liquid Alienware. We'll have to see if today is the beginning of that movement, or if it falls just a little bit short as we get to check back in with DKK, who had a knocked, dropped for a second there. Able to get him back up and hopefully stave off a little bit of a push here, as they should be able to get a solid reset. And you know, you talked about them not being too committed to any set position, and they can still continue working with that. They have some room to move around. You can see the Durags being one of the teams in the buildings in front of them that they could potentially having to fight, but they do have a relatively open eastern side for the moment if they wanted to make any sort of a crazy wild push.
For the most part, actually inside of this next ring is pretty calm. Not a lot of teams are gonna have to move this zone, but a squad like TSM, who now have the opportunity to get even more ring information at wall should they wish, are gonna choose to forego that. Not playing for the next ring, not contesting GMG who are up on high ground, but instead rotating down to the low ground. And we know, because we've got map feed up, and you can too, Face It Watch, that they are rolling up right behind Rock, who were playing out of wall earlier. Some of you will remember the map that we managed to check in with.
I don't know if Rock have any inkling that TSM will have made that rotate. Considering how far south TSM was last time I checked in with them on the map, they made a very quick and aggressive rotate up to that northeastern side. They might be able to catch Rock unawares here and see if they can maybe do a little bit of sniper damage from that choke. Have to see what they're able to figure out there as we get to see what's going on in these nut buildings. Thuggets lose Kimchi, and Dan is quite low. Kimchi fully gets knocked out, and now they're gonna have to see if they can survive and push in for Ninjas and Pyjamas. It does not work out, and Ninjas and Pyjamas made quick work of Thuggets.
Silent but deadly. They rolled up, they took him out. And NIP now have DMG above them on the wall. TSM still waiting in the zone as well. Rock to the north, and TSM hoping to sneak up on Rock, see if they can pull off a 3, 2, 1. And they do not get that knock. It was close. But close is for horseshoes and hand grenades. That's the expression. No hand grenades being thrown out here. And unfortunately, TSM are going to have to wait to make a play. This still is a net win for them, however, as they forced out Catalyst Wall. And that, at the very least, is a pretty big advantage for hand grenade! Hand grenade!
You spoke it into existence, Dia. Panic coming through, was a little bit delayed in the zone, throws a frag that changes the tide, completely turns the tide for TSM. They move in, able to do so much damage while having taken a little bit themselves, but still able to move in on Rock. Panic does get knocked. Gent's quite low, but it's all down to Saucer trying to survive there behind these knockdown shields. Will he be able to close things out here for Rock? It's a rough angle. He makes his way up above. Not able to close it out though, Dia. My God, that frag completely opened things up for TSM.
If the Peacekeeper had a tagline, it would be, with the PK, anything is possible. And it's so true, because even until the last moment, I was going, yeah, Sauce could do this, realistically. TSM fans held their breath, but it paid off. And now, alive and on the very northern tip of zone, TSM have a chance at taking this game away from a Liquid Alienware that has predicted the zone perfectly. Literally everyone but Liquid Alienware is going to be outside of the next zone. That includes Durags, who are up by the nut buildings. That includes Ninjas and Pyjamas, who they are fighting with. Look at the position out of Liquid.
Durags fighting for their life right now, as they're using every single rampart while possible to block all of these frags as they were coming in, able to survive a little bit here as Ninjas and Pyjamas and DMG are in the vicinity trying to see if they can take Durags out. But like you mentioned, Liquid Alienware, the only one safe out in the water in the next circle. And while that's great for their positioning, they also are going to want to get some KP on the board. So as things start to continue shrinking down, they're definitely going to be looking to start doing some poke damage, keeping themselves alive behind those rocks. But these nut buildings are getting a little chaotic.
And they are only going to get more so. A lot of squads can contest for this area. Hot Dog Mafia are going to be rotating out of wall, likely just straight landing on this. And let's not forget, we've still got Gibby Bubbles, we've still got Tridents in this lobby. You can take a disrespectful amount of space with that combination, and we're going to see a lot of teams doing it right now. Unreal Nightmare, one of the squads that has made a rotation technically into the next zone, although how safe this position is, actually with the Trident as a roof, This might be the safest position on planet Earth.
I kind of love this. Ingenuity at its finest. We have a lot of teams, though, that had hedged their bets and put themselves here in the trenches on this side of the circle, hoping to find a little bit of safe space. And now that we're watching 14K, they're up by zone spammers, but they've got sightlines down on Hot Dog Mafia, who are fighting with Pioneers. That catwall is in the way, but it's also going to draw a lot of attention to the surrounding squads.
CIMJ go down, and Hot Dog Mafia are finished off by the Falcons, who are playing inside of this tunnel. Pioneers look for a way to engage, but a bubble from Falcons to play conservatively lets them survive and grab a little bit of KP on the way. Now every team in the lobby has just been made aware, whether you had ring scan or not, you know that you're not in zone, baby. You gotta go north this time around. Liquid Alienware continue to roll some incredible zone placements, while Sentinels and zone spammers don't even live to see the next ring. DKK with a challenging rotate ahead of them, and Pioneers, I'm grouping them in there as well. Yes, they've got these trenches to play, but none of these trenches are in the next ring. It is all going to be open ground, gravity cannons, and the few rocks we've got out in the water. 14K have just pulled off a respawn, and Pioneers, if they get this knock, they likely go on a push for the few places they can grab.
You can see, trying to see if there's any, Jay trying to make an opportunity there with the charge rifle as a res does come through. These trenches are about to get very messy. Pioneers are trying to figure out who the best squad for them to focus on is. Meanwhile, the teams in the nut buildings have to do the exact same thing the teams in the trenches do. They're all going to have to leave here very soon. So that means you've got Ninjas in Pyjamas, DMG, and Durags all trying to stay alive, while TSM, still behind the rock, will be looking their way.
Out they go. Bubble, Trident, Prophet. Let's go, baby. Out into the open water. Ninjas in Pyjamas pray that they find a good spot to land. Well, Liquid Alienware prepare for the zone close of their life. The ring is closing. So many teams are coming to them. Let's take a listen in with Liquid Alienware and see how they deal.
Igual. Sino uno. Se murió. Derecha. Uno a su carro. Sí. Aguantan, no aguantan. Aquí la derecha, aquí la derecha.
Catalyst la última. La mataron.
No estoy viendo los dos puestos, no estoy viendo los dos puestos. Van a pelear aquí, ¿tienes un trizo?
No, yo la gasté.
Alguien que se quede, yo digo que piques aquí, ¿no? A la derecha, para agarrar espacio, todos los pasos a la derecha. Bueno, va, está bien.
Puedes robar.
Si quieres, vemos aquí todos a la izquierda. Ve una izquierda, por favor. Sí. Se están peleando, tú gaña. O si quieres, hacemos ir para ahí, como tú ves. No. Tenemos toda la zona. Vamos izquierda, ni sur.
Ya está un bubble acá.
Full ángulo.
Bubble importante, están dando. Otro team, está haciendo tip le están haciendo tip por espada, están en pinch. No está GB.
Matado. Me lleva la kill. Los vatos son esquinados, Me robé su carro para que no puedan rotar.
Maté uno del otro team.
Ok, me robé su carro para que no puedan moverse. Dale. Aquí tienen un volutero.
Pesadas.
Arranca la vez.
Se va a caer.
Hay un chingo de nade, Nisul. ¿Qué ocupas? Te llevo.
Ventiladores o nades, agarro yo.
Ok, te tiro nade, Nisul.
No llevo medkits tampoco.
Ven. Te tiro medkit, bats, termita, net. Déjame una nade, Bueno, está bien. Me voy al otro lado,
Dale. ¿Dónde grita aquí?
Nosotros podemos ganar la de free, bro. Vamos a doblar el spot.
No piedra. El drone está acá,
Me echo bad.
Todos los teams están full.
Ok, full focus a la derecha, ok.
Liquid Alienware are identifying the threats. You heard the comms. What teams they should focus on and when. And I'm sure right now we are hearing a lot of derecha. NIP have just rolled up on them, but right now Liquid Alienware a fight on two fronts. NIP on one side, DMG on the other. They've got to be extremely careful, but these nades out of Yanya change the game. Defensive bombardment does let them move forward, but losing Nazul means they've got to clean this fight very quickly. NIP, one member left, Jaguars gets taken down. This is bad for Liquid Alienware, and Yanya knows what he's got to do. He's got to finish the fight, secure the KP, secure the placement. But he can't seem to do it in time. DMG are rolling up on this. Liquid Alienware go down first. And we've still got Ninjas in Pyjamas who go down with the 1 HP. The Vayne managed to clutch it with. Two squads left, DMG and Unreal Nightmare, who walked up to play the gravity cannon. Can Unreal Nightmare close this out? Because DMG, they are taking space.
The way these endgames are so finicky, DMG now being the ones that are in a strong position here, able to do a lot of damage while the ticking is happening, and DMG close out this first Stormpoint match. Dia, what the absolute 180 that whole lobby just did. I cannot. The chaos was on the grav cannon. Liquid were doing the damage in that area. They knew that the right was the important side that they had to be paying attention to. And honestly, I think had they cleared out NIP, they would have survived and probably won that game. That was insane.
All I'm gonna say is that given what we saw in EMEA this morning, given what we saw in this game, given that Gibby just got banned, that guy's getting nerfed this year. I don't know if it's before champs, but that guy's probably getting nerfed before champs because the Trident bubble combination is so potent, and we saw it be basically the thing that changed Liquid's game. A team that was very in charge of the lobby, that was managing every flank, had a team Gibby bubble Trident rotate at them, and had to deal and it really knocked them out so far that they didn't even make top 4. And granted, I'm gonna give credit where it's due. That was off of some really clutch play to live on 1 HP as a Gibby and still clean out Liquid Alienware.
I feel like I don't even know what just happened. That was insane. The Gibby bubble was the second teammate against Liquid Alienware in that situation, because that wall was just not helpful at all. DKK still holding on to first place with 50 points, but you talked about Liquid Alienware needing to make a statement, needing to move themselves up this leaderboard, start putting in the work. They're now in second place with 45 points, followed by the winners of that last match with DMG in third place. What a way to kick off Stormpoint.
And such a good news story. I mean, I don't want to jinx it for Liquid Alienware, but I'm going to say this anyway. They've been our most consistent, one of our most consistent teams in North America, because they placed 15th in their first 2 match days, both times. This is a much better look. I mean, I love consistency, but I like winning a whole lot more, and Liquid are doing a little bit more of that right now, and it is a very welcome look for a team that needs to make up a lot of placement between now and the end of the split.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if they can continue this momentum now in the last 2 matches of the day. Before we get into that, though, we're going to send it to a short break, so don't go anywhere. You're watching the Apex Legends Global Series.
No. Looks like I'm last man standing. At least I lasted longer than...
Anything you can do, I can do better.
Great. Paranoid weirdo.
Try and keep up, old man.
I can do anything better than you. No, you can't. Yes, I can. No, you can't. Yes, I can. No, you can't. Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Hey, Max. Use the boys koalas?
Bring it on, you clog, Danny.
Call me Salvo's metal finger.
Always the straight face, pilot. Have some fun. Worry not. I will enjoy this.
Red Bull is the official energy drink of the Apex Legends Global Series. Welcome back to the Americas, where here we have just finished our 4th match of the day, and we will be moving into our 5th very shortly. Graceful, that last match, a big reminder of how powerful Gibraltar and Tridents are. Now that's taken off the board, but it has forever changed the standings. Let's take a look at how that last zone played out, because this was a big win, not just for Liquid, who we highlighted, but for DMG as well, who once again managed to clinch an endgame zone.
I mean, phenomenal gameplay by them, using that moment where Team Liquid was looking at NIP to get that Ashe TP in and then eventually 3P that fight. But what I want to look at here, I hope we get the POV on DJ Killa, because he's the one leading this fight later on, to where he's just walking inside that bubble as the Ashe, throwing out nades left and right, as we can see right here with the thermites, with the archer. Also hits the cracked 93 pump, and then pretty much the teammates comes in to just seal the deal, and they finish that game really neatly. I would like to say that their execution, not only on the ultimate combinations with the likes of EMP into Brave TP or Phase into the engage, we also saw now with the Ashe, is still maintaining that pressure by leading the front fight. DJ Killa has been playing really well today, in my opinion, and they have been consistently setting up and executing properly. However, executing properly now, will they have an easier time now because Gibraltar got moved out of the fight? This might make it a little bit harder for some teams that is used to bunkering up, or even, like you said, the Gibby bubble into the Trident play. But will this also open up for opportunities for the teams that aren't running Gibby to make more mayhem?
Teams like DMG, who already found success without Gibraltar in match 4. And I gotta point out, this isn't the first time that DMG have succeeded on Stormpoint. Remember, they took a win off of both Falcons and ZZ on Stormpoint in our very first match of the Americas by sliding in out of Cedo. Those of you America's ALGS enjoyers will remember, and if not, don't worry, we still got the bottom. It's day 1. But DMG slid in for that win as well, and did so off of DJ Killa's Ashe portal. It is very clear that DJ Killa on the Ashe is pivotal in the endgame plans of DMG because he's able to get so aggressive and is able to make really good use of the arc snares and portals to take away pivotal positions and get up in your face. This is a player and a team to be watching really heavily when we get onto Stormpoint, because this seems to be their map.
Yeah, most definitely. And even then, just the overall potential of the team, even if they haven't bloomed too much as of just yet, seeing that consistency right now puts them at top 3, 34 points overall, I would like to believe, and they are just making a splash right now. We are going into game number 5, so we still have a little bit more ways to go, so things can change up on the leaderboard. But if they keep putting out these consistent setups and executions, especially on their offensive side of things, things can only go up.
And they have to keep going up, because when we think about this split in the context of what it means, bringing us out to Japan, DMG must win the regional finals or the LCQ. There is no other path to Japan for this team that seems to be on the up and up. Can they keep this going? Can they continue to improve? Because that's the only way that they're getting to Sapporo. Keep your eyes on DMG as we do start off with them, and they'll get a nice teaser for where the ring is going. Let's find out where we're actually playing, because this is a pretty wide open zone, but once we focus in on Mill, it becomes a lot clearer. Zone spammers will have a good read on this. I believe, yes, Durags have a ring console as well. Liquid Alienware have rolled another one at North Pad, but notably nothing for TSM in Cenote and nothing for DKK in Barometer.
I mean, those teams that don't have this knowledge are probably going to opt to play a little bit more towards mid-game speed, where they get the next beacon knowledge as the zone fully closes. However, looking at the zone, if this ends up pulling in between Mill and a little bit more towards down beats by those rocks, it's going to be a nice cheeky zone, because all of these teams are now going to opt to rotate a little bit more towards the center side of things as teams are figuring out where do we go, how's other teams macros. Let's see if we can get into the spot, as all of these teams are going to vouch for the zone moving a little bit more towards down beast and Mill.
Seems like zone spammers are in agreement with you, by the way, that that's probably where the zone is going, moving themselves from Mill basically 3 inches to the north and up in between downed beast and Mill. If you're that confident, and if Liquid is joining you here, it's pretty clear that most of the lobby goes, yeah, Graceful, you're probably right about that, and I'm going to join them. Graceful, I'm seeing this. I'm seeing the data. You're probably right about this zone ball.
I'm just saying, I have been right as well for sure, and been lucky, but there's also been times, you know, where, okay, there's 5 teams here, Dia, it has to be here, and then it goes to Narnia, and then everybody's crying. So I hope it's not one of these moments, especially for the likes of TSM, Liquid Alienware, as we saw as well as zone spammers. But if it does end up being close towards that direction, they're gonna be more than happy with this. Other teams, however, the likes of, you know, Hot Dog Mafia, Pioneers, THUGGETS, DKK, a little bit more on the outer side of the zone, looking to just loot up a little bit frequently. Still, a lot of teams are just making their adjustment as they are opting for next fully zone closing before they get the next information.
TSM's priority on the Prowlers will actually be a pretty big buff to them as a team that isn't moving very far. They'll get a lot more Evo off of this than other squads. Unreal Nightmare are going to be denied that opportunity, so TSM may have a pretty big advantage in the mid game when they're able to abuse the fact that they'll be closer to purple shields and maybe even on purple shields before anyone else. A team like Rock, though, very much playing for the mid speed that you talked about. They're prioritizing Evo in a different way than TSM, instead running around the map on the Trident, collecting some harvesters, and likely playing to go through something like North Pad and grab a ring console scan once this zone closes.
Yeah, I mean, there's several ways of upgrading your stuff in this game, whether that be arsenals, whether that be harvesters, whether that be farming objectives like prowlers and birds. Now we're just mainly making sure that we're staying healthy and getting resources as much as we can, because the difference between this map and World's Edge is that you have a lot of more leeway to get into zones regardless of how late it ends up getting, because there's more playable area and like random, what should I say, not objectives, random like rocks and small buildings, prowler's nest, everything that you can actually play without needing a building, which in my opinion is a great way, because not always getting a building, it shouldn't be locking you out immediately. If you can get a small little cheeky cliff, a little bit of a rocky area, it should also be able to help you.
Remember the advantage that I said TSM had before? Well, that's gone because they had a member taken down and full thirsted. TSM now have to tail between their legs, move back into Cenote for a reset. Disheartening for a squad that I'm sure wanted to take a little bit more momentum in this game. But having your third is a whole lot better than having a good position. I say probably going to regret those words later. Does he hit it? He hits it. God, that's a professional player right there.
I mean, I think that you're right on spot. In probably 99% of the scenarios, you are looking likely to wanting or preferring the third player over the positioning, unless you have the ending like we saw on World's Edge where you're DKK and you're on top of a cliff and nobody can contest you. However, I think that resetting is the play. Sentinels, however, moving in towards Mill as well on this building towards the riverside. Team Liquid nearby, and we saw a little bit of showcase signs of life from Legatron, I would like to say as well, right next door, where we saw that 1v3 early on World's Edge. I like to point out all of these huge mechanical moments where some teams 1v3, because it's very easy to miss when there's so much action happening around the map.
On highlighting the players that I think other teams are noticing as well. Part of Apex Legends does happen on the maps. Part of Apex Legends happens in the roster mania, and if you're making a lot of noise as an individually skilled player, people are going to notice, and that can turn into success for your team. That can turn into success for you individually, and we see a lot of teams, I think, have difficulty balancing that. When are you prioritizing your own success versus the success of the squad that you're playing with at the moment? TSM, I think, unfortunately a bit split up. I am going to note that. One member on one side of Cenote, one on the other. Pioneers directly in between them. Not an easy game for TSM, who have suffered some pretty severe setbacks. However, as we look at the zone, those that chose Mill will be rewarded, and those that did not will suffer. THUGGETS in a pretty good spot if they do want to continue playing the ridge line. You can do that for a little while. There are some rocks up here that are safe. Outside of that, teams like Ninjas and Pyjamas and Durags don't have a whole lot of safety outside of a few rocks to the north when it comes to playing future zones. Ninjas and Pyjamas, however, will have first access to that information because they've got a ring console, as do Hot Dog Mafia over at North Pad. Pioneers waiting in Cenote for one of their own. And those three squads will have probably the biggest advantage when it comes to the coming ring.
I mean, seeing 5 teams on the northern side outside of the next zone is gonna be hard, but looking at the Rock Esports area where they're playing by the choke, is probably going to end up getting pinched either by CC or Nice Guys. All of these teams are slowly inching in and seeing where the zone is pulling, more towards Mill this time. Some teams, however, Liquid Alien, like we saw, take their bridge very early. Very happy with that as the zone is pulling towards their favor. As now Hot Dog Mafia, however, triple purple, more than happy to take a fight, I would assume. As speaking of taking a fight as well, DMG, the winners of the previous game, top 3 currently, triple purple with that same comp, with the Ash, with the crypto setup execution. Are they looking to take another fight? Because they have been on point today.
And I will say fight, bit of a generous term. This is one of the 2 isolated players of TSM. The other member, Panic, who we'll see on the other side of Cenote, being chased down by an entirely different squad. And KCP take the portal behind him. Panic's gonna try and finish off this kill for at least the KP, and he gets it. So claiming at least 1 point for TSM before they go down in 19th. It's a small victory, but we take those. We take those victories.
I mean, 1 KP is better than just dying with a donut, that's for sure, but I'm sure that they're not happy with that after losing out to DKK earlier on Prowl's Nest, I believe. CC, however, sitting here, very cheeky, waiting for the zone in Down Beast, with several teams around them. I believe NIP and Durags are just right nearby, also waiting for the zone, as DMG actually gets charge rifled by Kimchi. But they do end up getting a thirst on Cruel Buckle, so they can't be too sad as they're now looking for the remainder hiding behind that rock. Nothing is happening so far though, as he is currently sitting, and they do end up fighting him, dropping on him. Future streams makes that very easily as Pioneers gets eliminated.
It's a good look for DMG, even though they're in zone right now, because walking out without THUGGETS having a sight line on you was actually a pretty easy thing, all things considered. Difficult for THUGGETS to actually move in and finish off a kill, even as they get a pick on DMG once again. It's a little bit of suffering inside the ring that DMG have to go through, but eventually they should come out of the zone relatively unscathed, perhaps a little bit lower on meds. Team Falcons, however, they've got a longer rotate, not into this zone, which they're already in, but into the next one, which will be revealed in just a few seconds. Sitting outside of Cito, they don't have next ring scan, they don't have a console available, they are playing things by ear, have only hit blue shields so far, and so it's an awkward mid-speed for Team Falcons, as they've got to figure out what it is that they'll do next. Now, I will say, the comms from Falcons today, when I checked earlier, have been pretty quiet. But for the sake of it, for the sake of hearing this team one more time, let's see if we get anything on a listen-in with Team Falcons.
Did they just hit Manscan? Left. It's Sparrow.
He's purple armor. He's still going that way. He's by himself. Trying to swing. 104. He's like popping his tower or something. Where is he? Exactly. Bring in Sparrow. It's on the cannon. Bring in Sparrow.
One's close on the building. One's close on the building. Ash is moving forward here, Reese. I can AP. Yeah, I can AP him. I'm APing them.
What the? 1 HP on you! 1 HP on you! He TP'd.
Look at my drone. Drone set up.
Dead! I'm trying to on your corner.
I'm pushing forward.
I'm pushing velocity. On the corner. Break his wall.
Rep up one dead.
On me. Crap.
One. He's like 40 HP.
1 HP. Literally 1. He's healing. I'm inside. Safe. Full safe.
Yeah.
Holy fucking flanker. Look for third.
Good stuff. Excel.
Nice squad.
We sure fuck is it's like billion.
Signs of life from Team Falcons as they managed to take that team by very, very assured. Like that wasn't even close in their favor. Huge swing from Zero right there, and the EMP play coming out wiped that team, and that's looking good for them. Their walk-in should be kind of safe, but on the other side of things, Hot Dog Mafia, not a safe walk-in. Actually, like I said before, Rock Esports holding this choke south. Other teams coming in from the choke on the northern side here, with I believe we saw Durags, we saw the likes of NIP and CC, pinched between at least 3 teams now. So can they make this macro happen, as they are currently getting sighted right here by NIP? Will they be able to make it through?
NIP portal out, still with a priority to hold Hot Dog Mafia. Lots of sightlines from NIP, but they seem a bit distracted with ZZ and Durags on the other side. NIP have unfortunately now put themselves in a position where they are sandwiched and naded and stinger bolted, and I'll be honest with you, Graceful, NIP are suffering. Retaliatory stinger bolt goes out and Guild does get taken down, but Kurev is answered right back, and this is giving Hot Dog Mafia a free walk-in on the other side. Vayne plays the far side of the cat wall, but now is immediately in Hot Dog Mafia's sidelines as Madness takes him down. Stinger bolt will help take down Bo to the zone. Hot Dog Mafia needing to reset as their fight with Durags continues, but we jump on with Team Falcons, who are fighting Rock on the exit to checkpoint. Falcons are well in control of the fight, only a solo standing between them and a clean back, but with Hal being taken down now and Waltzy portaling out, Falcons hit the quick reset. Hot Dog Mafia go down, Rock are eliminated with them. And those two teams get to take a breath. Liquid Alienware, however, absolutely no time to breathe. Yanya goes up onto high ground, does dodge the Sky Nade and help take out Bofer. Liquid Alienware in a 3v2 now. Nazul jumps down with the Rampage, but Liquid Alienware know that they've got the 2v2 of their dreams. Durags will fall. Liquid Alienware now get a completely isolated reset on the north side of zone. And this could be another fantastic game for Liquid.
It's a great start indeed, because they actually have a spot to play in the next zone closing as well. Liquid Alien were making splash right there on the northern side, as we saw the likes of Durags and also Hot Dog do before. However, inside the buildings, we see Unreal Nightmare holding the spot on the northern little cheeky area on height right now. Can they hold it though? Because the zone after this one, they need to be holding their backs out on the southern side.
This is going to be a tough zone for a lot of teams. I will say, whoever comes out of Mill somehow is going to do pretty well. The worst case scenario is if two teams come out of Mill, because then it is mutually assured destruction. You want to be picking fights, but you have to pick safe ones as any squad that's coexisting in this area. Sentinels hoping for a bit of safety themselves to try and reposition the Trident to give them just that, a little bit of staying power. Well, DKK, unfortunately having suffered a loss, they're going to try and reset, something they should be able to pull off, but it's not a good sign of things to come. Only 2 kills for the squad so far, and CIMJ making this a little bit harder as Noct gets double peeked and taken down. CIMJ want to take out DKK. Can they do it on this swing? The doorway is theirs. Gyozi ends up moving out. Knockdown shield held by Noct. Not going to do nearly enough as DKK get multi-angled out. CIMJ collaborating with a few of the squads to remove them from the lobby, and the Falcons ultimately taken down by Team Liquid Alienware, who are on a rampage for the second game in a row.
Huge game for them once again, owning this northern side of the zones. However, I will say, holding out the next zone, they're gonna have to take another fight to make things safe for them, but they are looking more than happy to take that, as they have been absolutely dominating so far. We see Yanya run straight in and jump over. We see Niasul jump straight up with the Sparrow. This combination of having not only the angles of normal crossfires, but also the vertical aspect of it has been huge for them as they've been making plays.
Real quick, brainstorm with me here, Graceful. You're Liquid. When I'm looking at this position, I'm thinking they wall towards the fence line that separates Mill and send zone spammers. And they're sending them now, so I guess we don't get to brainstorm. We just get to find out what Liquid Alienware are doing. As they do send zone spammers, Yanya swings into 3 Peacekeepers and goes down immediately. The rest of Liquid Alienware split up, and I fear this may not have gone the way that they hoped, Graceful.
I was about to say they should have probably TP'd underneath and then taken the fight, but the fact that they just went straight for it still ends up being a 2v3, but they are kind of healthy. Can they push them out of this, as they are running outside underneath right now? Team Liquid Alienware is looking to get this proper reset, as the other people are actually low. This could be a 2v3 angle.
Sacred Climbs does not find the shot, but has backup. Liquid Alienware did get the res, but don't manage to capitalize on it. Again, Yanya gets swung and taken down. And Liquid Alienware, they wanted to pick a fight, but they didn't know they were fighting the zone spammers in this form. Sacred gets sniped at all the way from Mill, and it could be enough for Liquid Alienware to pull this out. We've seen 1 HP and a Peacekeeper work against them before. As Jaguaris resets on the high ground, he will have to leave along with the zone spammers. Soviet moving out ahead of him. Jaguaris dropping down on the other side, using the knockdown shield, is gonna have to fight for this rock. Moves up on it. Zipline not enough though, as he gets taken out by Wi-Fi, courtesy of the charge rifle.
Zone Spammer is very happy with that, even though they came down to a duo right now. Gets that wipe and actually owns a lot of the zone right now. Sentinels down to a little rat trying to survive on the north or on the eastern side of things, as the other teams have to duke it out from the southern side inside the building. CIMJ, however, looking very strong as they own the absolute high ground and can probably hold here for quite a bit.
And the problem here lies in how you exit from Mill. Remember we said, worst case scenario is that 2 teams have to exit from Mill at the same time. Right now, there aren't even 2 teams. There are 3 teams trying to exit from Mill at the same time, and somebody has got to make this work first. Be it with a Trident rotate, be it with a Wraith portal, it doesn't matter.
I mean, look at Carter trying to put in work right now. He is not giving up without a fight as he sees a Moby come down. He has the bow check in his hands, even a frag available as well. Opts to just make sure to... He tried at least, trying to get a couple of kills, but couldn't really get it as that reset from the northern side on Zone Spammers gets back into a trio. They even have, in the next zone, a wall to play. The same wall as Carter is playing, but on the opposite side, as we can see, right there in front of them. That they couldn't play. CIMJ is currently taking that area.
It's a good move, though, to get there proactively. Soviet can't be taken down now. But if you can deny this to CIMJ, as I believe the spikes will do, Zone Spammers have moved fast enough. They got the reset. They've denied CIMJ the portal down onto the low ground, and it forces CIMJ to fight Sentinels underneath them. THUGGETS go down, Sentinels will fall, CIMJ and Unreal Nightmare, now they must exit at Mill at the same time, and you and I both know this is a recipe for disaster. Unreal Nightmare are gonna eat about 800 nades and go down without being able to do anything about it. Zone Spammers, it's their time. Can they take the win? CIMJ have the high ground. Wi-Fi gets a little overzealous climbing of the wall, but stays alive. CIMJ are going to push this, swinging the wall. Chickas finds the first knock, and despite being denied the portal, CIMJ could pull this out. It's a 1v1 against Sacred, who climbs over the wall with the Peacekeeper. Oh, and it's enough for Zone Spammers, who take the 5th game of the day.
Zone Spammers had a fighting chance once they saw CIMJ drop on that team or getting ready to nade out that team. I actually thought that CIMJ might have had a chance as well in general because they didn't use too much utility, it looked like at least. But coming down to that 1v1, Sacred more than happy to play with that PK versus that R9. We can argue whether or not he should have climbed, probably not. But he gets 2 pumped immediately, and that's just the name of the game. If you have strong, you know, shotgun mechanics, and you also have knockdown shields versus a guy in the open, the only option he had was to climb. There's really not much you can do. But Zone Spammers fighting Liquid Alienware earlier for that spot, it wasn't for free. They fought the team that was absolutely demolishing the lobby from the northern side with the likes of Liquid Alienware with 10 kills. However, managed to close out the game in a very neat fashion.
That's another win from a team that must win it all in order to qualify to Japan. The fact that Zone Spammers were able to win this game is huge for them, and I love the way that they did it. Taking a look at their stats compared with CIMJ, yes, Zone Spammers, they may not have gotten nearly as many kills, they didn't get the same amount of damage, but the fact that it's even close with Zone Spammers' very inactive position. I mean, they played quite far away, and they predicted this zone really early. I come out of this going, this is a great look for Zone Spammers. They predicted the zones, they fought off Liquid Alienware, they won the end ring where they had to readjust, and now they're sitting in 3rd overall with 1 game left.
I mean, that's really what we're saying. A lot of the times, 2 teams on top on 58 and 55 are soaking a little bit of points, but immediately underneath that, we see everything from 38, 37, 31, 30, 29. It's so close, it could be any team's game at this point. Leading into the last game right now as well, it's gonna be a nail biter because it's really that close. And when we're talking about qualifying to the one end all place that we all want to go, champ supporter once again to stamp that ticket, it's make or break it. You better win regional finals or make top 2 in LCK for a lot of these teams.
And the stakes are really high for those teams at the top as well. DKK and Liquid Alienware, we did mention Liquid Alienware have the opportunity to just place high and make it to Sapporo, but they've got a lot of ground to cover, which means they need to hold on to the #1 spot. Can they do it, or will they fall? We'll find out after the break.
Need a breather, Wally. Should I slow down?
Ah, now that's a work of art right there.
Of course you think that. You've got one bloody eye.
Uh-oh. Just walk it off. Yeah, you'll be all right. Oh, guess not.
Putting my heart out there. Wrecking ball's fired up, literally, cunt.
Some days it's just too easy.
Finally. Thought it'd never shut up.
Well, funny thing about a wild card, they always turn up again.
Welcome back to the Americas here at the Apex Legends Global Series, where we are preparing to jump into our last game of the day on Storm Point. Groups A and B are facing off for the second time, and this time graceful. It looks like Liquid may not just be placing better than 15th, but they're fighting for a top spot and currently hold it. Let's take a look at the final circle of last game, where Zone Spammers came out to a big victory, pushing themselves up to 3rd in the overall standings for today's games.
I mean, from predicting their zone very early, playing that building just a little bit north of them where they fought Liquid Alienware earlier, needing to reset, getting that full reset now, coming down to a straight 3v3 versus CIMJ after they take down the team inside the building, was a little bit closer than I wanted, to be honest. It came down to a 1v1, so I really want to see this POV. However, Sacred obviously managed to lock it down, and that's exactly what they needed, because top 5 regardless, really close to close out the whole day actually, as we see pumps coming in from an off angle. They all push the wall. Sacred hits those PK shots. They see the trade on the other side of things, but now we see PK behind the knockdown shield, and then the Crypto climbs. It's night Crypto as Sacred just takes him out with those pumps, and it's phenomenal play from him. That off angle alone won them that whole 3v3. Otherwise CIMJ actually won the initial trade.
It's true, and there was a lot of back and forth between these games, because remember, CIMJ wanted to play that fence earlier and were denied it by Zone Spammer. So these two teams were very aware of each other, even in the lead up to that last encounter, where Zone Spammers did ultimately walk away with the victory. CIMJ cannot be underestimated as we move into match 6, where Crypto will be banned. Interesting to see Crypto banned. We've still got things like Rampart available, where that was a really prevalent pick in EMEA. To now take Crypto away does deny a lot of scouting, and realistically, if you want to be running a Recon Legend now, you're running Sparrow or you're running nothing.
That's the thing, as we have seen, you know, Recons over time have gone from the typical, you know, the Bloodhound and even the Path and a lot of stuff like that. Now it mainly goes to, we gotta be fast on rotates, because like, you have to remember, the pacing of Apex Legends in its whole keeps evolving. You know, we've gone from needing to run everywhere to more balloons on the map, to tridents on the map, to mobility in kits and legends in themselves. It's so fast-paced right now. Like you said, in Recon right now, if you don't have that crypto over that long-range UAV scan, now you want to opt for Sparrow to get that and get going.
And when you're thinking about how to approach the next game, or rather the final game, having more information on the teams that surround you is the real strength of these Recon Legends. We've seen some teams play for third beacon scan, but it's really not as powerful or hasn't been utilized as much in the Americas as we saw it during EMEA. In EMEA, people were really running for third beacon scan. They were playing off it like their life depended on it. And in the Americas, teams do seem a lot more comfortable just moving into zone and trying to figure it out, take their best guess, and then adapt from ring to ring, which is something that, weirdly enough, zone spammers will be forced to do. They picked up Catalyst so they could get a ring console scan, but they don't actually get the ring console spawning at mill, which leaves them in a bit of an awkward spot.
Yeah, they're definitely going to have to grab a rotational beacon, as I like to call it as well, to make sure that they get that information. If they are, unless sometimes you can predict early, it is very hard though, but it could happen for sure, because when you all in some areas and it hard pulls off of you, it's going to be a rough time. But when you have this zone specifically, does it pull more towards Barrow? Does it pull more towards the southeast side, towards THUGGETS a little bit, maybe? Potentially not. Now you have these rotational areas where you can actually make plays. CIMJ in a spot to where they're evacing even deeper. Maybe are they going for the next eggshell or the next egg? It does seem like they're going for that spider choke. Maybe they'll move past deeper. It does seem like it, as some teams are opting for very deep positioning. I do like this because when you're that confident in the last game, they were very confident in acknowledging the win condition. As we saw, that TP placement on that spot was to win the game, right? Can they do that consistently? One of these games, they will close it out, because even second place last game was really good from them.
DKK and CIMJ both share the quality of having landed on a ring console, so their guess is honestly better than most people's. Pylon didn't end up spawning with one, but with Jurassic and Barometer both having that advantage, TSM and Durags are going to rotate in. TSM did get the ring console over at Cenote, so they'll be a little bit late, but it's still absolutely possible to make this work. A lot of people rotating through Cascade as well, and Liquid Alienware got the information that Zone is headed south, but they got that from all the way over at North Pad. So for Liquid Alienware to compete with DKK and stay in first place, they're going to have to play edge like their life depends on it.
They definitely do, because DKK is in a spot that is almost unpushable unless some teams push from coastal campsite through that tunnel, which is, in my opinion, kind of easy to hold out, especially when you have the likes of Caustic, but in this case Watson. They should be able to survive leading at least into mid-game. Liquid Alienware, however, need to do a little bit more work, as they are, like you said, more on the edge side of things, to where you are forced to take several engages and come out on top. But if we're talking about Liquid Alienware and we're looking at the previous games, they have been coming out on top of fights for quite a bit today.
Nice Guys high ground, and the scan does let them know that there's a team basically right underneath them, just in case their headphones weren't working properly, because I am sure you hear the clamor as Nice Guys get rotated underneath. Ninjas in Pyjamas, the squad that just passed them by, booking it down to the south side of the map and to the next ring, leaving Nice Guys with the chance to hit a ring console scan themselves. Falcons sat in the center of Jurassic. Not in a terrible spot by any means, likely not where the ring is closing or where it's going ultimately. The big problem's being besieged. As Stinger Bolt comes in, Falcons get flanked. Falcons don't seem to have a lot of options. Moving outside, a nice shot in the back by Zero reverses their fortune, and the Hot Dog Mafia.
Creepy.
It looks like they're being taken down. Bo with the G7 gets taken out, but Falcons are in a sorry state as the Ninjas in Pyjamas sprint from Cascade over to the Falcons. And Hal may not even live to see the Ninjas in Pyjamas. as he's facing down a different squad entirely. I don't know how he's alive between these two teams, but trying desperately to finish off the KP, he won't even get that. Falcons are eliminated in 19th. The Ninjas and Pyjamas helping push them that last little inch out of the lobby.
I will say, very nice angle from Zero with that face into the side angle, hitting that huge pump on and turn the fight into leading at least a little bit more positively for them. But as we also know, when the zone is, when you're this late into the game, circle 1 almost fully closing, teams are on the pace to make it to your locations, get thirded by NIP, and also I believe it was 8gang on the other side of them. Takes out Falcon, and that's just how it goes. NIP, however, not stopping just yet as they are getting chased. The 8gang is getting chased down right now as Kuzme trying to stay quiet as a mouse right now.
It's about ratting it out at this point. Taking a 3v3 versus NIP doesn't seem possible. McLovin looking for Kuzme. Oh, I found him. No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
I was sure he saw him there, actually. Kuzme preparing for the hide-and-seek tournaments yet to come.
I mean, I think he's happy for now if he can make it up, but it seems that they are definitely... He's definitely around there, but they left it for now. Maybe he can make it out, maybe he cannot. Other people are currently kind of locked in into the southern side of the map right now. We saw plenty of teams in there, but speaking of plenty of teams, they do find him. He doesn't go down without a fight, as he does take one down, but that trade is not going to do anything because NIP is currently very safe in this current position.
No one else really around. NIP sitting in 6th right now. Because Falcons have gone out, and it was NIP that helped push them out, they could usurp Falcons' position in 5th at the moment, which would be a big boost to NIP, and very welcome, I'm sure. 14K, we're going to hit a quick respawn in Millage. And this is a bit close for comfort, as we happen to know that Liquid Alienware are rotating through Ceto at this exact moment. Having spotted a fresh respawn, will they come over and try and pick a fight? Because if you are playing Edge, and if you are Liquid, one of the teams that is known for their team fighting, you may very well start feeling an itchy trigger finger.
Yeah, and I think that they're keeping the gas on the pedal right now, staying true to their name, always have been playing fairly slow, getting stacked, making sure that they can take these 3v3s that they have been coming out on top of today. But the zone pulling further towards Coastal instead here, towards that hill. CIMJ will be very happy. DKK probably even more happy, because even if it does end up pulling even deeper past that, they can still have a nice way into that end game straight underneath that height of Pioneers, as they are happy playing in this tunnel right here. However, for the likes of the other teams, making it up that hill, whether it be through THUGGETS playing above Spider Nest or through the Pylon Hill, is very hard, because those hills are already hard without the sniper meta. Add Peter and Short Rifle into that, and it'll be even harder.
Yeah, like the TLDR for this zone when I saw it was DKK happy, Barometer teams very sad. This is not a good day to be in Barometer, especially with Gibby banned, no Trident bubble rotates available to you. It'll be tough. Not impossible, however. And Liquid Alienware actually have one of the better chances of making it in, since they can rotate in through the north side, in through Jurassic, and get the ring console scan that is there ahead of every other team in the lobby. This could be huge for Liquid Alienware. And on the other side, they could just be gatecapped like everybody else. We're going to have to find out, as for the moment, ZZ are planning their rotate, and this one a little bit more out of the way, a little bit more awkward, and likely going to take the squad down through Echo HQ, where LeaveNoWitnesses are going as well. But your options from here are to go into Pylon or to go south into Echo, and I'm honestly not sure which I prefer, but eating shots from Echo will probably push you into Pylon.
Yeah, most definitely. They already hit that info as well, so they will make it do with that, as CC is coming in from the eastern side of things towards Pylon, as they saw only one team literally inside of Pylons right now. Liquid Alienware, however, we said that they would go through Jurassics, but we saw who was lurking in Jurassic earlier. It was NIP. It's going to come down to a 3v3 against NIP and Liquid Alienware, so we shall see how they can set up and execute this fight. Can they do it as they have previously, or will NIP reign supreme from that egg side?
Two of our squads representing South America. We'll see what Liquid Alienware can do. We've talked about this being a very polarizing game coming from the north. They are either cooking or they're about to get cooked. Let's find out as we jump into a listening with Liquid Alienware.
Me avanza la Catalyst. Tántalo. 28 la Ash. Ash one. Está one, literal uno de daño. Espérate. Está todo cerrado ya. No. Puta madre, weón.
And unfortunately, the answer, Graceful, is that they get cooked. Ninjas in Pyjamas did it to Falcons. They turn around, they do it to Liquid Alienware, and this seriously endangers Liquid's spot in the standings. Sitting in first right now, they can fall quite far with DKK right behind them, and very easily ready to overtake. LeaveNoWitness starting to push up onto DMG. Threatening yet another squad, but with Blaze going extraordinarily low, LeaveNoWitness have to pull off a reset, and they do with an arc star from Rena, actually finding future streams. It's a knock in favor of LNW. It's burning to a thermite. Rena's a bit low. Blaze goes down. With a third party getting involved, ZZ have shown up. They shoot LeaveNoWitness in the back and take them out of the lobby.
CC opted to not go for pylon side, but instead zone wraps and come up behind DMG now, looking to take a fight on them to 3P this fight. But I believe we saw a huge positioning there as other teams are looking to go a little bit ahead. One of the DMG members is still southern side, getting held up by Pioneers, actually gets eliminated right there. It comes down to a duo versus CCC, but Pioneers is not letting this happen for free because they are hungry and they need this KP.
Just a single member extending out can do quite a bit, but the damage that Gil just did should force some more conservative play out of the Ash for Pioneers. ZZ get to reset and play for now. This north side of the zone still extremely challenging, and Wraith Portal not quite available for Gil just yet. That's the main mobility tool for ZZ. If they don't have Portal, it's going to be, I'll say, nearly impossible to move across the open space that happens when we're over by Coastal Camp.
I mean, CC is going to hope for a timing on the northern side because Sentinels still have to move from pylons up towards THUGGETS. But this zone indeed does pull up more towards Coastal in the middle of the hill on the, like on the eastern side of the previous zone where everybody else is going to have to collapse. DKK still has that tunnel to make that play, but Pioneers and CIMJ sitting very happily in this location right now, just hovering everybody else, looking to see if they can get any pokes. However, we talked about Barometer being very sad. Everybody has to fight right now.
Zone spammers pushing in, they don't even make it. Stinger Bolt is just too brutal. Wi-Fi does find a nice knock onto 14K Resonance, has Soviet playing for defense in here, and will be able to stick a reset. The 14K pushing onto this, make it more complicated. Amazing shots out of Wi-Fi. Turn things around. Soviet's gonna have to leave them as a solo. Last member of Zone Spammers running for the hills and hoping not to be spotted. Ninjas in Pyjamas quite busy over by the eggshell, but it looks like they've got time to spare for him. Zone Spammers go out. Ape Gang go out. And even though we're not seeing DKK collect placement points, make no mistake, they are at 57 points to the 58 that Liquid have. One more placement point, one more kill point. DKK are taking first.
They could take first indeed because they are in a spot right now to where other teams are forced to fight. Durags, Ninjas in Pyjamas are all forced to fight on the western side of the map right now as we see them right there. They're just holding it out. Drop says, I have a TP right here. If we force them to fight, we'll immediately make it. I'm sure that they're counting every single placement point, every single KP, because this right now could put them in first of the day. But we can't count out the likes of NIP sitting at 5th with 39 points right now, and they have been making so many KP today, pushing every fight as everybody in the egg is currently fighting. Vayne picks up a KP. More people are jumping out. They're looking to get the thirst, and they do indeed.
Durags are gone. And with that placement point, it's enough. DKK take Liquid out of the first place spot. Ninjas in Pyjamas continue pushing up onto Nice Guys, onto TSM. 16 seconds left before this fight becomes completely futile. It's about clearing your back right now, but with McLovin going down, Ninjas in Pyjamas may have just been shot in the foot. DMG are going to fall as well. But the rotate up is cooked. It's cooked for NIP. They're going to try and stick this reset. DMG having fallen recently gives them a little bit of space. TSM have to reset on the high ground. NIP get their third. And they have Catalyst back in the game, so maybe they can make it up this hill, but THUGGETS still stand in their way, Graceful.
THUGGETS is standing in the way, but we saw the timing earlier from Hot Dog right there. Remember in the choke towards Down Beast? If they get that timing where THUGGETS have to look at another team, this could be their potential to walk up as DKK made it up that hill. Currently looking to fight Nice Guys, holding them out from the southern side. They are aping them right now with that opener they had, but not for free. They get a trade on them, but it does look like DKK should be able to close this out as they do. Nice Guys gets eliminated. TSM is walking up the hill. NIP is walking up the hill. THUGGETS is trying to hold out the western side of the map right now, but several teams are fighting for their lives.
NIP with one member left. Vayne tries to save this absolutely scuffed rotate and miraculously is not getting run up on yet. ZZ though, rounding the corner. Take him out. ZZ, they are climbing up the leaderboard. 7th place right now. They've won this group last time. It'll be hard for them to win, but they can make it pretty darn far up the leaderboards. DKK, meanwhile, are just holding on to that first place spot. Every point they get makes it more and more difficult for any squad to contest them and to even get close. They are making this a top-heavy lobby. DKK are running Storm Point in their final game. Let's take a listen in with the squad to beat.
There should be another like level, another fence level. They're at the gym.
Back here. They were back over here. They were.
I need to loot. I have like 9 bullets. I have 9 bullets.
Yeah, I'm gonna loot. Just beat you.
I got my Sparrow. I got 1 Sparrow back. Yeah, I'm just.
I got ammo for you, Keon. I got ammo.
I'm good. I'm picking up a different gun.
Guys, are you sure they're there? They're playing into the far side.
I don't know. Let me see what we're gonna play.
There should be a fence.
Team far right. I have to put us left side somewhere.
Isn't there a fence? I think there's a fence right below this.
Can we just try to wipe this left team? I think they went down already.
Yes, we can try. I'm just getting.
They already slid down. They're here. On my ping.
Okay, look over on them.
Yeah, I am. I cracked the Sparrow.
I have a TP in a good spot. You take my TP, Keon.
Yeah, I did.
I'm trying to kill these guys.
Rate this low. Rate this low. 1 HP. I'm sweeping left.
Yeah, I'm with you, Drop. With you, Drop.
Kill him. Pop himself.
You can swap.
Yeah, knock. You can get him on.
No.
He's in the corner, knock. Right?
He queued. Just take the space.
Just be careful. Be careful of the right team.
Care, not. Far left, Care.
All the right. Make sure we don't get wrapped.
Yeah,
Give. I'm playing out here for Jen. I have a head of here. They're trying to climb up on the height.
Can we just swing left and kill this dude?
No. Just fucking play my side. I have a good ass spot. Cracked 108 on the Wraith or the Ash.
Yeah, the Rebel's on wall. Hey, I'm walking up.
Yes, I killed him. He's on top of the bridge here.
The Rebel.
I can maybe TP behind him.
Right here. Do you guys have nades?
Yeah, do it. No, I don't have nades.
If you have any frags, you kill him right here on the bridge.
Up in there.
I put a gun. It's my kidnap.
I'm trying to fuck with them. They're rezzing.
I'm with you.
Okay.
That's all you got.
I'm going back up. Do you guys have ult cells for my Sparrows?
We just need to hold our space, guys.
No ult cells.
Same spot.
No ult cells. On the left side. No,
carrying on the left. Left team is a duo. Yes, I'm aware.
I'm grabbing nades, guys.
Yeah, I'm trying to grab some as well. I'm with you.
I'm just holding his right team right now.
Also,
power booster here.
I have ult cell knocked. I have ult cell for you.
Left team. Crack one left team. Pop himself.
Okay, I'm popping ult.
Make sure I baited out a Sparrow. Listen, we have God spot here. They're playing bridge right here. Yeah, this is an insane fucking spot.
I don't have gen.
Ult cells in the bodies somewhere.
I gave the ult cell to knock.
Getting pressured.
For fighting.
I'm trying to break their windows up top.
I gave my ult cell to knock, but I got a power amp.
Okay, I heard you. What's your gen at? What's the percent?
72. I'm peeking left side with you, Drop.
They're getting hard pressured on this side. Yeah. Just chill. They have to move into us.
Are they like close on that corner? I
have two Sparrows. I start Sparrowing this team up top.
Yeah, we should play pressuring the 3-man. I'm gonna throw Vert on this bridge we have.
have to revert on that.
I spiraled at their bottom too. First swing right.
One dead off 3 team. Or 3.
Yeah, I'm trying to kill them.
They're fighting each other.
Still dead. Last team.
Yeah, last team. It's like one more. I think it's one more. It might be one. It might be 2, but I think it's one.
Dash. I think so.
Yeah. Crack them.
Jumping on you. 1.
Nice. Good.
Take it.
This was a clean closeout by DKK, and you could hear it. This end game moment for them was more of an exercise in restraint than it was excess energy. They knew they had first, and moreover, Graceful, I think you'll appreciate this. They knew they had God spot. You heard them say it. They were like, chill. We know we win the game from here. Let's do this. Let's do it clean and simple, and they do. That was the team to beat. That is a team that is in first place form, and a team that we know is going to be in Japan and are looking like they're getting closer to the form to do it. Glitter, this is the perfect teaser as we approach, or rather as we continue in the second round robin for a team that is really coming into form and that you must be able to beat if you want a chance at going to Sapporo.
Absolutely. And while that may have sounded a bit chaotic there at the end, those comms were actually so clean, even down to the small things in dropped acknowledging that he had heard Keon when, talking about the percentage of the Jenny. Like, they were a little indecisive for a fraction of a moment when they didn't know if they wanted to keep pushing KCP or Pioneers when they were going for that res. But overall, like you said, they knew they had God spot. They knew that they had the advantage over the duo that they were certain was in Sentinels on the left. I mean, that was so well executed, and all day was well executed by them that I'm excited to see what they will bring to LAN after, months of really nailing this down as we get to take a look at these results. 12 kills by the end of it for this win to add just another notch into the belt for DKK today, Graceful.
I mean, they've been playing phenomenally. We saw second place in the first game win. Now they're winning here again, consistently getting into these spots where they are consistently making endgame. And when they are in endgame, they're still racking up that KP. Has been phenomenal play by them. Second place, however, Pioneers did a good job, but I would like to say they need to revisit that VOD because not swinging when they were fighting on the opposite side of that platform ended up losing them the game. But on the opposite side of things of losing, DKK very, very strongly holding that first place. We thought it was close in the beginning because Liquid Alienware died a little bit early when the points were tied, but they exploded into 79 points for this series, and you can't ask for anything better than that. Even though we knew that they didn't have to place super high to make it into champs because they are that good of a team, I think that this will make them more than happy.
I think another thing too, Dia, to point out now that we got to see not only these overall standings, but just from the series alone, we're seeing a little bit of the emergence of a potential Cinderella story. You talked about how important it was for Liquid to really kind of have a solid match day here today on day 4 and continue that obviously throughout the rest of the split. But I'd say this is a great start.
It really is. I mean, this has pushed them up. I'm looking for them in the standings here, and I'm going to find them at 8th. This is a huge improvement from where they began the day. A reminder, however, that they have played 3 series, and many of our teams have played 2. So realistically, this 8th is probably a little bit more like 15th, 16th. Maybe 14th on a good day. The fact remains, though, that for a team that started in the bottom 5 of the league, this is a huge step forward to Japan, where, like we talked about, placing in the top 10, they've probably got around a 50% chance of going to champs, but above the top 4, and they're going. This was a big step towards that. And again, I've been referencing these stats. Real credit to Zephyr for working on these with me. He's provided a lot of great math to make this possible. So these are all coming from a very researched source, and it is nice to be able to look at these and go, this is where you need to place if you want to go to Sapporo.
I love that. I love that. And if we're talking about math, might as well keep doing the math, okay? Because it's time for us to talk about our Sony in-zone kill leader race. Let's see who for Americas was able to end up on the top of our leaderboard. And it was Yanya after a phenomenal day for Liquid, continuing on this storyline. 20 kills go the way of Yanya. To be fair, followed by 18 on Keon, 14 on Dropped, and Noct is also up in the top 10 at 8th place with 10 kills himself. But Yanya, 20 kills. I mean, graceful. That's a fantastic day.
I mean, we saw that happening not only here, but also specifically on that Storm Point fight right here by the cannon, taking this proactivity to secure this KP. He got so many kills, right there, 2 kills as well, but they even got more earlier. If they had fought and secured that previous game where they got, I believe, top 3, it could have been a not straight crazy day for them. Even though they're more than happy with this, like you said, it's a great step in the right direction to secure further up the leaderboard. Yanya, however, one player that I think everybody loves and knows to be a phenomenal player.
I love that we get a chance to take a look at these damage stats as well, Dia. I mean, this is just kind of like the icing on the cake for them today.
It's the perfect way for Liquid to stage a comeback. And again, this is a team that is really difficult to doubt. And at the same time, a team that often gives us reason to do it. They'll start tournaments, it'll be a bit rocky. They'll have whole splits where it's a bit rocky. And inevitably, we're seeing them at LAN finals. To see them make the claw back is always something where I go, are they really going to do it this time? This looks impossible. But the fact that they are at least giving us some more hope than they have previously, where we see them make it off of one game into the finals of a LAN, or off of one game in the regional finals to even qualify. The fact that they're giving it to us early is much better. It's doing my heart a lot of good.
Right. And then on the flip side of that, you know, obviously DKK coming through with the win, but then you're seeing that also reflected in their individual performances, Graceful, by having Keon right there in second, Dropped in third. I mean, Noct in eighth. You've got all 3 of them in the top 10. It just speaks to not only how well they were working as a unit, but just how much they were putting in on an individual level as well.
I mean, I just want to see how many times we were in those end games, because we saw second, we saw first, we saw first. When you're consistently getting into end game this often, kills will come in eventually. Now that we're talking about the fact that all of them can shoot their guns very straight, it just makes it even easier. It even got to the point where I believe it was one of them saying, I have no bullets, and we looked in the bottom right and it was 2 bullets for the Peter. How much has he shot the entire game to have no bullets in this moment, in this game? So, I mean, they've been shooting their guns really good, and I'm more than happy about that.
Yeah, and a team that definitely deserves that recognition after a performance like today. I think what we're seeing out of these squads, because something that we talked about at the top of show, Dia, was the fact that what we had expected coming into Split 2 has been shaken up a little bit. That's kind of been the theme of today, right? And I love that that's just continuing to be proven by these teams who are stepping up to the plate and showing that there are so many contenders in this region alone for potential LAN champs.
And it continues to be one of our highest variance regions in the world in terms of how much our teams change from day to day in their standings in their individual lobbies. Like we mentioned this morning, EMEA varies by about 4.5 placements. NA varying by 7 or more is a trend that is continued. Even by DKK's victory today, they've still managed to change their placements by 7 or more. So keep your eyes on North America, because, or rather the Americas, because it is an extremely volatile region, and we keep putting forth like little glimpses of hope. Oh, you're a fan of this team? Well, it looks like they're really on fire today. Oh, you're a fan of this team? Looks like they're really on fire today. And it is so hard to track, but so satisfying when we see it pay off for a team like DKK today.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's definitely making everything that much more interesting. I know today's match day 4, but tomorrow officially marks the halfway point of this split. So as we continue our way through these round robins and through the rest of this season, every single solid match day, every single strong performance is going to contribute that much more. We'll continue updating everybody at home as the weeks progress exactly on what those champ standings are looking like. But everything matters, whether it's that regional finals win, whether it's additional points on the board for any of those 24 squads based off of champs points, or whoever's going to be fighting tooth and nail in our LCQ for those last remaining spots. All of these performances will be building up to whatever success they find at the end of this season. So I am very excited to see what happens by the end of it. And while we're waiting to see if we can get an interview here with our winners, let's do a quick shout out, because if you're wondering how you could be playing up here on the main stage with us here in ALGS, register for any of our challenger circuits when they are available. Okay, there's still 2 left right now. The next one will be closing registration-wise on September 24th, and then will happen September 27th through the 29th. And then you've got one more opportunity there in October, which will close registration on October 1st. And then you'll play October 4th through 6th. You can head on over to battlefy.com/ALGS. And even this split alone, in multiple regions, we have those success stories of players coming out of the challenger circuit, making their way into Pro League, Dia, and then finding success once they're here.
And some of them even coming back. The winners of our last challenger circuit, Gamblers, have Audi, Ossivian, and Nuts, but you'll rarely recognize Audi and Ossivian from Temper if you were watching Pro League last year, which I expect you were. So look forward to them maybe even coming back, as there are teams and players that will oscillate between Challenger Circuit and Pro League a few times before they finally get the hang of what it means to play at the top level in Pro League. And that's an important part of their development. So you're seeing a lot of talent start cooking in Challenger Circuit, come up to Pro League, and then work their way up.
And you could be the next player to do it. So make sure you're registering and getting yourself in there and playing those games. But like I mentioned, we have an interview. We were getting it ready. I think Keon is ready to go. Let's bring him in here to chat about a phenomenal gameplay day. Keon, welcome. Thank you so much for jumping on and chatting with us.
Thank you, guys.
All right, talk to me about today, because you guys went on an absolute tear. You just looked untouchable. What's working for the team right now?
Well, so the first 2 Pro League days were kind of bad. I don't think it was my teammates' fault really too much, but it was really just the meta. A lot of the time is just not staying alive because you die very quickly. So today we made it and like a priority, and like that was our goal, is just to like whatever you do, just play your life at all times, and that was like our goal going in, and we did that pretty well today, I feel like.
While we were watching in the final game, it was something that obviously we were paying a lot of attention to, the fight between you and Liquid for first place. That was very, very tight. How much was that affecting the way that you played the game, especially in the first couple of rings? Because I noticed, like you say, you're playing very conservatively for those first couple of rings. Was this because you were trying to outlast Liquid, or was it just not on your mind because you were so close to the top?
We knew either way we were going to get like top 2 today, so it wasn't like too much pressure. And Liquid ended up going out really early in that game, I think in like 17th place. So it honestly like wasn't too bad. Like we saw them die. We weren't really thinking about them when it was round 1, and we were just going to play like the game plan off the zone poll, and it was going to be that way whether or not they stayed alive or didn't stay alive. And it just ended up going out early, and it just took the pressure off, and we only knew we needed like a few points to pass them, but you know, obviously we still want to try to win the game. So
Graceful, do you have any questions here that you want to be asking Keon?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we saw you place what, second, first, and then I couldn't tell you. Did you guys make almost every single end game today? Is macro something that you guys are working on consistently right now, or is something you guys already have done? Because when it comes to shooting your guns, I believe all 3 of you are more than potent than, I would say, majority of the players across the world. So how do you guys work out the macro consistently getting into the end game like this? Are you guys predicting zones early, or are you guys just having the same mid-game speed?
Yeah, I mean, to start it off, like me and Drop do a really good job of just like calling zones. That's like at the beginning of the games, that's like our main discussion every single time, is like me and him are just going back and forth talking about the zones that we think it is, and then also he kind of has the final say of like what angle of like entry we're gonna have, or what point of entry we're gonna have into the zone. So for macro, I feel like we all know how to do it, and then me and him just do a good job at like saying how zones are gonna play out, And then obviously there's some RNG. You can't call zones perfect all the time. So other than that, yeah, it's just pre-planning stuff.
I love that, because hearing that you have somebody to ball off of is so important in these moments, because sometimes when you just have one person to, you know, make all the callings, just having that little bit of a thought from somebody else, especially your teammate, if you can trust each other to that level, is so reassuring, I'm sure, for him as well. But you guys have done a phenomenal job, so I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for that nice performance for today.
All right. Well, Keon, thank you so much for chatting with us. You guys were phenomenal today, and I can't wait to see what you bring to the rest of the split. Congratulations again.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, what a day. What a day. All right, let's talk final thoughts. We've made it through Americas. We've completed match day 4, Dia. What are you feeling?
I mean, I'm definitely feeling shaken. We talked about teams that rock the boat at the start of today, and man, have they done that. DKK continue to jump placements. They jumped 8 places. Now they've jumped 9 places to get into first. So they continue to be a team that we don't know where they're going to end up, but it's clear that they're improving by leaps and bounds. The same thing can be said for Liquid Alienware. Unreal Nightmare made several appearances in the final zone, and we continue to have questions about what exactly is going on with Falcons, and they're going to continue rocking said boat, as now we're going to have even more questions about who's even on their roster, where those champs points are going, and what that means for the rest of the league. So I walk away from today, of course, having had a wonderful time in the Americas, but still, in many ways, very unsure what is going on as we move from day to day, because our teams are adapting so quickly and to each other in a way that makes it very difficult to predict who's going to come out on top, who's having a good day, who's having a bad day, who's already predicted that you're having a good day and has countered your good day with their other good day. It's crazy, and I love it.
Honestly, it's unsure in the best way. I think that's a great way to put it, Dia. I love it. Graceful, how are you feeling?
Final thoughts. It was a good day of Apex. I think a lot of these teams performed the way they wanted to, and some teams maybe the way they didn't want to. But like we talked about, adapting, never-ending adapting. Next week will look very differently when we see changes to Legends, when we see changes to weapons, like PK losing Accelerator, Flatline gaining it. Flatline is my bae. You have so many different ways of adapting, and I hope that we get to see a little bit new compositions perhaps, because that's something that I'm mainly looking at, because seeing Stinky Boy God game number 1 and perhaps, you know, Alter game number 2 is getting a little bit redundant now. Let's get some spice in there, a little bit of sear perhaps, even though I know people were very frustrated with him.
Graceful loves the little sprinkling of chaos added into the mix. Well, guys, you crushed it today, as always. Thank you so much for lending us your voices to get through the Americas. We're going to say goodbye to you for now. And today might be done, but our weekend full of ALGS sure isn't, okay? Because we have match day 5 for EMEA coming up right around the corner tomorrow. That'll be starting at 6 p.m. BST, 1 p.m. ET, and 10 a.m. PT. So make sure you are tuning back in to see how the region closes out their double header weekend. And of course, if you're not able to make it, don't worry. We have so many ways that you guys can stay in touch with us and everything that we've got going on here at ALGS. Just follow us on social media, whether that is X, YouTube, TikTok, Insta, all at Play Apex Esports or at Play Apex on Twitch. As long as you're following on there, not only will you be kept to date up with everything, but you will also be able to see some exclusive content, possibly find some giveaways on those newer socials. So make sure you are all over that. But for now, enjoy the rest of your day, okay? Go hop on and play some games of Apex Legends, and we'll see you back here tomorrow, Legends.